Good afternoon, good evening, and good day. Good morning to those of you on the West Coast. Moto is she wanted her headphones, but doesn't want to wear them. I'm not quite sure what to make of that. Oh, you want me to have them back? Okay, thank you. I don't know what I'm gonna do with two pairs of headphones. Up the camera just a little bit. Let's see, I'm up to just for the darkness. It's a backlit. Then we want to come in and check the stream health. Although I'm just getting the stream set up, I actually got the notebook ready to go, and there's a cohesive flow to most of the articles. Okay, so audio is working on YouTube, and the thumbnail for today's show was when my Model 3 got picked up. It was already sold to my friend by the time that we did that, but it did show up on my account for a few days, so we'll do it that way. All right, so next up, I haven't actually loaded any of the articles into the computer, except this one that Dan sent us, because he has a little bit of expertise in the area. And if anyone wants to tell me if the chat is working, that'd be appreciated. All right, so I've been saying that if you wanted to take advantage of the tax credit before it could possibly change, that it had been done by the 31st of March. The IRS has decided they are done with their update, and you now have until April 18th to take advantage of the previous setup. And then after that, let's see if they say what they've changed. I have some documents, but I want to only focus on those which are public. Model Y. She's got a Model Y, a fire truck, a Renault, and a Mustang Mach-E on her tray that she's crashing over here. Showing on the Model Y? She's showing us the Model Y. And basically, all her EVs are red. At least the ones on the tray today. You get the Mach-E. That stupid grill. And the Renault Megane. And the fire truck is just some fire truck. It's yellow. All right, so let's see if they say, what do we know? All right, so 7,500 per vehicle, 3,750 for critical minerals, and 3,750 for battery components. Let's see. This means that the vehicle may or may not be eligible depending on whether it meets the critical mineral and battery components. As a result of this guidance, IRS has updated the frequently asked questions guide for clean vehicles. Fact sheet 2023-8 updates the facts, and the revisions are as follows. Topic A, eligibility rules for the clean vehicle credits, questions 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and a new question, question 11. Topic B, the income and price limitations for clean vehicle credit, added question 2, renumbering questions 2 through 10, 8 through 11, respectively. Somebody's EVs have fallen off a cliff. All right, respectively, updated questions. Topic C, new requirements apply to clean vehicle credit. Questions 2, 4, 5, 6, and added question 8. So, using the public information, let's go to these articles next. I did take them slightly out of order, just because I thought I would have some of them loaded up before the show started, and as I was getting everything loaded in correctly, the only thing on top was taxes. So I'm going to find the other tax section, and then we will get back on track. Did you just throw salts on the floor? Your mommy just mopped that. You handed me a Renault? In response to dropping salts on the floor, I get a Renault. All right, let's see. Taxes. Not that far down the document. But it looks different on the PC than the phone. It's there. About this. Type in IRS in the search. No, because it's part of a URL, so it won't do it. Tell you what, I'm going to continue on, and then we'll just get back to taxes when they originally appeared in the show. Why on earth would you open in the window on broadcasting a computer? Let's do it this way. There we go. So first up, we're going to talk about safety from Tesla. They released a video on their Twitter and YouTube, and it looks like Tesla marketing is finally doing something, being a marketing department. First time in a while. So let's share this tab instead. We'll close that IRS update page. First off, anybody able to hear the chat? Saw the numbers jumping. Anyway, so let's take a look at this video from Tesla Safety here.
Hey everyone, Lars here in the Tesla Engineering Crash Safety Lab. And I wanted to talk a little bit about what makes our cars so safe. Passive safety is what happens after you get in an accident. We think about that from the beginning of a design. And what we're trying to do is absorb as much energy from whatever object you hit before it gets to the cabin. At Tesla, we always like to think we have two rules.
And that old mindset of you want your car to be strong and solid as possible means that the car will survive and they'll hose you out and resell the car. So what you want is the car to sacrifice itself to protect its occupants, and that's what Lars is describing here.
Number one, protect the occupant. Number two, protect the battery. See rule number one, protect the occupant. The way we do that is in a progressive nature of crash structure. This is what a car looks like underneath the skin.
Right, so again, this is a Austin Model Y. So it's got the single casting front, and the same techniques and everything apply to the other vehicles, but this is the latest that they have to show us.
You have your bumper beam, your crush can, and then you have what we just debuted in Austin is our new front underbody casting. And what happens when you get into an accident is first the bumper beam crushes up, it progressively crushes up the crush can, absorbing the low speed energy under 20 miles per hour, and then we get into our casting. The design.
So people always say, well, what happens if I get into a crash in this single cast vehicle? It's going to be totaled, blah, blah, blah. Mostly, this is what Elon keeps telling us right here. You've got your low speed bumper, you've got your crush structures here, and then as long as all of this is all that's affected, then they just cut them off and weld in new components. However, if it gets back here into what he's about to describe, that would total any car. And if somebody does repair it, would you want it back? And so one thing I keep saying is that if these cars get up there in price or down there in cost, there's nothing stopping them from unbolting the front section from the other two sections, putting a new one on, and then loading all your components into it, and thus saving the car, assuming that none of that energy transferred to the other two sections. But as it stands right now, the cost in labor and parts and shipping to do that should total the car.
The design is such that the ribs at the beginning of the casting are thinner than the ones at the back, and we progressively increase them so that we have controlled crushing of the entire system as it goes up before it gets to the cabin here. But what else you'll notice is there's multiple load paths. This is a higher load path for compatibility with other vehicles on the road. Sometimes we need a lower load path if you hit a different sized object. There's space vertically to transfer the load not only through the crush rail, but also through our subframe, which pulls the drive unit down and out of the way from the cabin behind you.
Now, just like when they talk about moving the engine down on a fossil, they aren't talking about ejecting it from the vehicle. They're just getting it away from where it might crush your legs and core. And same thing here.
And out of the way of the battery. But we don't just do that in a vertical sense. We also do it laterally. Your main crush rail is great if you hit something up front, but if you hit a pole or a tree just outside that crush rail, there's nothing there to.
So what he's talking about here, you'll often see on, if you watch any Monroe Live videos, that's where he'll talk about the tusks and the sword, the small offset collision. And if you watch independently of me, or if you watch all the crash tests I share on here, that's where they have the small offset, and then they just do a glancing blow with the car. And this structure he's describing here is what's going to push the car out and away from that object.
Absorb an energy in most cars. We put our lower load path just outside that crush rail, and we actually angle it so that if you hit something here, we start to absorb the energy, and then we push the car away from whatever object you hit to make sure that you're not getting crushed into that object. The backup structure is what protects the cabin after that, and we use both our door rings, the glass, and our battery to provide structure to hold all of this energy it's crushing up.
Some folks that are new to Tesla might not assume that the glass has any real strength to it. But remember that when Tesla first started demonstrating their safety to us, one of the demos they did was how they were able to get 5.5 Model S's stacked on top of each other. And this was the Model S's with the glass roof. And only then did the glass start to fail. I don't think they ever shared the steel roof results with us, but they weren't as high as the glass roof.
But one of the things that's unique about all of Tesla's is the battery is super low. A low center of gravity, in addition to our suspension, means our vehicles are less likely to roll over. So let's take a look at what a car looks like after a crash test and how these systems all work. So this here is actually a really special car. This is a car that was crash tested at NHTSA for our 5-star rating on Model Y. And as you can see, all that.
So this is one of the beauties of a car with a frunk is you've got all that open space for them to use to mitigate a collision and dissipate that energy. And I'm not saying you can't do that in a car without a frunk. It's just that if you don't have a frunk, it's generally because it's full of stuff, or because you went with a car with a small overhang, like looking like the old VW buses, or the style of the new VW buses. I don't really know what's in them yet. I haven't looked at enough detailed reviews of the European one with the hood open. I was just kind of disappointed by the way that one was unveiled, and so it never came back to it. I had planned to come back to it when the US one is launched.
That energy was absorbed up front here, stopping really at the cabin like I was talking about. And we do such a good job of that that you can actually open the door.
This is critical because if the door can be opened readily and you're not unconscious, you can just open the door and get out. Or if the window is busted, or if somebody's got a window breaking tool, they can reach in and just use the handle, the emergency handle, and open the door, and you're good. Versus being required to use the jaws of life to rip the car apart, or have you climb over the other passengers or the center console, or any number of things. If the door just opens, that's a pass right there.
And get out. And as you can see, aside from a little bit of white paint
that's also
and
critical.
some airbags blown off, the cabin.
The reason that it's still being able to be latched is critical is because after whatever blow caused all this, the car might not be done with the crash event. It could be rolling, it could continue to hit stuff, it could be sliding, and you don't want people falling out of the car before it comes to a safe stop.
It looks like it was untouched. And that means the occupant inside has all of the room that they had before the accident to survive the accident.
There we go. So while we're talking about crash tests, let's pull up a little something on the Cybertruck. Sort of. All right, so I hit the wrong button. I knew that would happen. All right, we're gonna share screen. I'm gonna share this tab instead. There we go. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Let's do this. All right, so I closed the YouTube tab. All right, so Tesla put this on their social media, pretty much just Twitter and their YouTube, I think, recently, like yesterday for April Fool's Day. And we see a Cybertruck in their Tesla crash labs. Something that Drive Tesla and a couple others pointed out is that it's not marked correctly for a Tesla crash vehicle. It's got the test article number, but it doesn't have any of the other items that we would see on. Is that spicy wasabi? She's eating wasabi fries and just offered me one. So something we would typically see on Tesla Crash Lab cars is some reference marks so that the crash can be analyzed. It'll have the test article number like we saw on Cybertruck. Generally has a logo and a model number, or model name, but I guess it's pretty obvious what this is. Then you got a test article number, and the only thing missing that I would think would be the reference marks, because they could be going for the theme where it doesn't need the Tesla logo, even in crashing. But let's take a look at what Tesla put on Twitter here. Mute the music and make it bigger. Here we go. And so this loops, and the jokes are just like the truck, it never arrives. But obviously the fact that they could get this far shows us that they are getting closer and closer. Now, I'm hoping that this is a teaser and that we see these crash tests soonish, hopefully before the truck comes out, but that'd be fine even if they come out after the truck comes out. And it's got, as you can see here, let me start pausing in it. Here. As we can see here, it does have a short frunk, but look how much distance there is from the front of the car to the driver's legs. So it's still got a very substantial crush structure. Let's see here. This is one of the newer prototypes. It's got the triangular mirror. It's got the mega wiper. It doesn't have the wheel covers. All right, we see here it's got the Woke, the wheel yoke combo with the 18.5-inch screen. It's the 5-seat model, assuming that they don't come out with a 6-seat model. That dash is incredibly long. And this one doesn't have a screen in front of the driver that we can see. And just like the demo that he showed us, the I call them crash test dummies. I know it's not the right name anymore. They are wearing Tesla shirts. I don't know that the one in the government crash test was wearing a Tesla shirt, but as we saw with Lars, it definitely was wearing a Tesla shirt when it got back to the Tesla facilities. Sorry, my spacebar wasn't stopping it anymore. All the engineers are all excited and ready to watch it. You see that it's all wired up. This is extremely elaborate if this is a hoax. That's why I'm wondering that if they just didn't want to show us the results yet. It's not like they need to sell more of these things anytime soon. Well, they will need people to convert orders soon. We see stuff all over, like leading into the bed of the vaults. Here's if it has different crash ratings with the vault open and closed. One would hope not. So they just get better. All right, so it's got some stuff going on the bumper there. And another thing to point out is that on the vehicle at Investor Day, the bumper was not made of steel anymore. It was some sort of composite polycarbonate material. But right there, they don't want to use the spacebar anymore. I'm hoping that that is not how this plays out. That's that the connection, that seam there is quite draws the eye. I know there's only so many places and ways they could do it. I'm hoping that's just because this is a prototype. There we go. And so this short loop, and so folks were joking, it never arrives. You know what? I'm curious, what do people say on Twitter? Let's see where it goes. All right, so we might get something out of this, we might not. And then we'll go on to the next thing, which is still Cybertruck. And then Matthew Donegan Ryan points out that it seems to be aping this meme of here of when it hits, and it's a similar situation, a truck in a crash test, and in the video it never actually hits. Ryan points out that the thing nearly broke the crash test wall. This guy says it's a teaser. We don't see how it's crashed. Or maybe I'm missing something. And Ryan points out that you're missing the date of April 1st. And so people are saying that. Just like the truck, it never arrives. And Constantino asks, how bad did the wall turn out? Show me the damage. On another note, congratulations. This Killing Me in production is about to start as planned. Yay. And then people are talking about how the barrier or the cameras were all destroyed by the truck crashing. And that's why the video stopped, because that's all they had, which is not the case. But Eric says Cybertruck goes through the wall. Oh yeah. All right, let's go on to the next thing. All right, so we got ourselves some Cybertruck. do 3 more Cybertruck articles and go on to something else. All right, so this one is over from Inside EVs. And they saw the Cybertruck without the windshield wiper. That there's a post for it, but there's no wiper. And I'm noticing now that there's a mark where the wiper goes. Is it a sensor to make sure it's fully stowed? Is it a rain sensor? Because we could use a rain sensor back. Deep rain is not as good as a rain sensor. It's gotten much better than when they first rolled it out, but well, I should say to the point where my car, when I got my car, it didn't have any sort of rain sensing capabilities. I had to do it manually, and now it's got it's almost as good as the one on my 2016 Model S when I had that one. All right, so let's see. The Cybertruck Owners Club forum, Gregor Truck showing what appears to be the beta prototype of the vehicle with the new mirrors, but without the massive single screen wiper. They point out that the spindle is still there. I'm wondering if it, well, no, because there's nothing on it, but I wonder if they could have parked it here. At one point, Elon was talking about hiding it, like maybe making the trunk open and consume it or something. I don't know. Yeah, so Musk replied to a tweet in 2021 saying that the setup we've seen time and again isn't the production version, adding that ideal solution would be a deployable wiper that stows in the front. There we go. And they bring up some of the windshield wiper patents that Tesla applied for and received. And they point out the wheel cover patent that was received or awarded. And they say that production should start this summer. Let's see if anybody says anything useful about it here. Anyone remember the Dustbuster fans by GM and Aerostar? They try to do what Tesla's trying to do with the front end design. One of many faults was not having enough heating to keep the windscreen from freezing over and fogging over in the winter, despite having a significant amount of waste heat at their disposal. That's a good question, but given the amount of cold testing that Tesla does, I would hope they don't overlook that. This person points out they have better glass, more efficient design, and the heat pump. And as well as the heated windshield. Tiny wires, close spacing is the best option. No ideas for doing it. So what Tesla does is they do heat the camera, and they do heat either the windshield wiper or the windshield wiper landing zone, depending on which car we're talking about. During snowy days away from home, I leave my Model Y in camp mode. Excuse the snow melts on all the glass surfaces, including the entire roof. I never used a scraper this past winter for the first time in my life. That's not the most efficient way to do that. What I would do is I would use the scheduled departure, and then it would defrost itself. Or when I got up from bed and got ready to get in the shower, this is how I did it on the S and the X, I would then remote defrost it from the app. And you waste significantly less energy doing it that way, and you still don't have to break out the scraper. If I cut it close, I did have to use the brush, but the brush was nothing compared to scrape it on a car. No expert gives me something to do with today's tech with that genomics drift field. Yep. Didn't figure out a way to remove the wiper. They just took it off. Does your Model Y tell you how many kilowatt hours are being consumed in camp mode? If so, does it differ at 32 versus 0? Yes, it does. I looked it through. 0.25 kilowatt. Kilowatt hours. All right, so this is enough of this comment section. Let's go on to some more Cybertruck news. There we go. So this does Cybertruck spotted driving on public roads as production nears. It's a video, but all it is accelerating from here to there. We'll look at it though. It looks small compared to this Volkswagen thing, but it's just way further back. That's all. All right, so this is over at Page Mill Road, around the corner from Tesla Engineering, the new engineering headquarters. And this is by Reddit user P1GGY. Biggie, I guess. There's a pretty clear photo. There's another one of it getting closer. I actually kind of like the way the headlights are done. I was thinking they would be the edges of the light bar, but this is cleaner to me. Now, I don't know if these are the headlights or the daytime running lights. If they're the headlights, that's perfectly fine. But if they're daytime running lights, I would actually prefer them to be in the light bar. And then another photo of it without the windshield wiper. And here's that video of acceleration. And there it is, just leaving the light. And that was it. All right, moving on. Share this tab instead. And we've got Tesla Cybertruck's four-wheel steering may give it a better turning radius than Model Y, says Elon Musk. And this one I think was shot by Ryan at the Kilowatts. Tell me if anybody sees this chat. I haven't seen any chat from you guys. Testing chat. It says it hit Twitch. It says it hit YouTube. And that's it. All right, let's see. So I don't know if we did this one last week or not, but even if we did, we could do it again. It was fun. All right, so there we can see the truck is doing a U-turn that my Model X couldn't do. And they were pointing out that Ryan's Model Y did it. So it's at least as good as a Model Y, and Elon says it could be better. There they are doing some wiggling for some reason. And then they pop a right straight into the Tesla engineering headquarters. Just like that. So I am excited for this truck. There we can see that we don't know if that was full lock or not on the rear wheel, but we can see it doing its thing the whole video. And that was exciting to me. Just because once I'm in a completely empty parking lot or I'm in a Texas-sized parking lot, reversing the Model X into parking spaces is a multi-maneuver affair. It's not the Model S wasn't easy, but it could be done. But the Model X, just the way it's set up with the steering and the extra length over the Model S, just doesn't do it. My favorite is like I can turn full lock, go somewhere forward, and I put in reverse, and it ends up in a different place. It's like, what is this? Shifting straight to reverse, I should end up right back where I started. Or at least that's how it was on many of my other cars. And then here is the raw video of our U-turn in a Model Y performance behind the Cybertruck. And then people made fun of him for the videography because he was wiggling, but he was driving. So I'm glad he was driving safe rather than putting preference on the camera. Now we can see the vault is closed on it. For the turn signals, I wish they were amber. I hope they turn out amber when the thing comes out. They might not bother with it because of the North America only nature of this. But the Model Y, when it came out, it was red turn signals as well, and they fixed it to amber. Model X has always been amber. I don't think the Model 3 uses amber turn signals unless you get a Model Y part, either yourself or from the surplus bin at the factory. And I know designers do it because it's more beautiful, blah blah blah. But it's ambiguous. You see a blinking red light. Is the person tapping on the brakes? Are the hazards on and one's blown out? It's just a little clearer what's going on when the lights are amber all around. And the only reason that we still have it legal today is because you got like Ford and the like that want to do, Ford GM that want to do one bulb for everything. Look at the work vans. Got that one bulb is running lights, tail lights, stop lights, and the blinker. Come on now. Don't be that cheap. I mean, yes, 5 cents per vehicle adds up, but when that one bulb goes out, this one wasn't on the menu, but it's a curiosity to me. Oh, that's from a long time ago. That's why. All right, continuing on. So we talked about the turning radius. All right, so now we're going to go from spy shots of the Cybertruck to another variety of spy shots. We're going to look at the Porsche Boxster, and then we're going to go talk about GM. And then we've got the news of the week with the Tesla delivery numbers. All right, where'd we go? There we go. And then we'll get into recalls after that. There we go. So the Porsche Boxster 2025 EV prototype has been spotted at a supercharger. No fewer than 4 all-electric Boxster mules were spotted during cold weather testing. And why not use the supercharger network? uh, you don't have to say what the car is. You just have an account. They're everywhere. Why not? Plus, since you own Electrify America and Canada, you should already be able to test their hardware pretty readily. But to know that your customers are going to use the supercharger network occasionally, you want to make sure that they work out of the box, especially with the money that somebody's going to spend on a Porsche. Because while the base model is stout, nobody really buys the base model Porsche. Every little option just adds up thousands of dollars to the price of the car. All right, so let's see. This was in Sweden and began the outdoor test in November of 2022. And all the cars in the gallery embedded below feature rear-mounted charging port, just like the one we first spotted about a month ago, as well as the fake exhaust tip tacked on below the charging connector for keeping up appearances. So this is actually a really smart idea that Motor One caught them doing. The center rear-mounted charge port means that all you have to do is back into a space, and it'll work at any charging station. You won't have to worry about is your stuff on the left or the right, and you don't have to do 2 of them like you do on the older Porsches where they've got 1 on each side. Um, hey, Anders, good to see you. So we know the chat is working now. Good evening. And so I think that the center front and center rear are 2 of the best places for ergonomics and everyday use. Now, in a minor collision event, they may not be the best just because now you've got to repair that. But if they're designed in such a way that they are still functional and in a non-disabling crash, like if you hit somebody else or somebody else hits you, uh, and the car still runs safely, if they've made it so that connector can kind of move around and still electrically isolated and still is able to interface correctly with the handles, then that would be fine. And for a long time, we still had gas cars that had the fuel filler tank behind the license plate. That didn't stop till I was a child. All right, so let's look at some of these spy shots. All right, so there's the fake exhaust tips they were talking about. And charge door should be right in there. And if we're seeing this many of them testing, they're pretty much well on their way. It's an interesting solution for the fog light, but at the same time, it also allows them to hide what the real solution is. And that is a ton of breathing for an EV. There we can see the radar unit, maybe a LiDAR unit even, a solid state LiDAR. It's got a cloth convertible top. It's got 2 different wheels. So either they're testing out 2 different wheels or they were just from the parts bin for the sizes they needed. I see that it's a winter tire tread. I mean, seriously, if you're driving your Porsche in the winter, you're probably going to have those winter tires, at least in most of the world. All right, so Eddie says that for him, the chat is working in Facebook, but not in YouTube. That could explain why it's so quiet in here today. I don't know how to fix that, but hopefully Google gets their stuff together. Oh, look at that. There's a light or a marker here. I wonder if they could be putting like a camera or something there. They've got equipment there. All right, let's see if there's anything more interesting about these things. Like a close up on that charge board. There. Okay. It's not very pretty, but I'm hoping that's just because this is a mule. And by like, it doesn't need to be pretty, but like that button, it's not. It doesn't look like something I'd spend $80,000+ on. That looks like it belongs on a Honda Fit with a manual transmission, the base model. And nothing against the Honda Fit, but I understand they had to cut costs there to keep the price down. All right, let's see what we're looking at next here. Ah, there we go. Charge port's open. And see, that's what I was talking about. The charge port looked cheap. And it's probably not the final solution if it's doing this in testing where it pops open while they're driving. Wait, whoa, that's even worse. It appears to be actuated, like motorized, like on the model, all the current model Teslas. All right, so we can see the CCS nature of it. He's driving. So hopefully, he got an alert saying that it opened up. I don't think that he would have opened it up for the pictures. So that's type 2. So we see a button. See, when you see it's got that pattern like a lot of the EVs and hybrids have, where like all the dirt is just sucked onto the rear. I wouldn't really want to be touching it to get the charging. I would hope that that they have like either an app or on the remote that you can manually get that open without having to get the grime on your hands. All right, so here we see it at the supercharger. So this is a V2 supercharger. We can tell because it's got 2 handles. A V2 European charger, obviously, because a V2 North American charger won't have 2 handles for any reason, not anytime soon. Maybe ever, because if they do adjust it, they'll probably put the magic dock on it, even if they don't turn it into a V3 supercharger. Assuming that they can update the protocols on a V2 charger. It might be like my car where they have to change some boards out before leaving work. It appears to have a frunk, but I think that the gas one has a frunk too, so not all that special. All right, so next, let's talk about CarPlay. A lot of folks who are talking about, oh, I'll never get a Tesla or XYZ car because it doesn't have CarPlay or Android Auto. Well, GM kind of went that route on the Bolt. A lot of them don't have, or if any of them, don't have navigation and several other features. They say just hook your phone up with CarPlay or Android Auto and leave us alone. Have a nice day. We saved you hundreds of dollars. Well, GM seems to be walking that back, and it appears they're going to phase out Apple CarPlay and Android Auto in new EVs going forward with custom software from Google instead. So to me, this sounds like the solution that Polestar went with. It's not Android Auto and CarPlay, but it's confusingly, I think it's like Google Automotive or something like that, where it's a new thing. So let's see if that's what they're doing here. So Reuters says that they're going to design the new software with Google, so it's not dependent on the use of a smartphone. Switchover will start with 2024 Blazer EV, which is slated to hit the roads this summer. By using their own custom-built software, GM will be able to learn about how their owners are using and charging their EVs, allowing them to implement digital subscription services with their EVs. You can do all of that without getting rid of CarPlay and Android Auto. Especially, you've got OnStar in these cars. They were already beaming all their telemetry back to GM, whether you're paying for it or not. Come on, GM. Don't lie. Say, we want more control of the situation, blah, 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 better user experience, some crap like that. Don't lie. You can get that information without having to develop your own separate OS and kick out all the phone connections. Anyway, let's continue on with the announcement here. Through the partnership with Google, buyers of GM's EVs will receive Google Maps and Google Assistant free for 8 years. That's not a bad deal. Most people don't keep their cars that long, and those that do will generally keep their cars for 10 years. So you only have to pay for 2 years of this service. Now, the next question is, if you've got all of this, well, who am I kidding? Yes, you have to buy OnStar. We already talked about that. The Cadillac EVs and the GM EVs we talked about had mandatory subscription to OnStar a couple months ago. We talked about that, and unless they've changed that, then that's how they're going to connect. I would like to just hook my phone up as a hotspot though. Greetings, Timothy. How's it going out there today? All right, so YouTube chat is working for you guys. So I wonder if they're having some sort of like situation with the people who were getting hacked, like, and they were trying to like lock it down or something. Um, Several prominent YouTube channels got taken over with fake Tesla streams, scamming people out of Bitcoins or cash. Let's see. Through the partnership, Google Maps are free, and they plan to remove the two systems from the EV starting this summer. They will continue to offer CarPlay and Android Auto in ICE vehicles for the foreseeable future. Interesting. GM says it will not disable either systems for owners of existing vehicles that have the software already installed. Yeah, because it sounds like they just don't want to pay the licensing fee for Apple CarPlay, and I don't know if Google charges for theirs or not. And the next concern I have is, thus far we haven't really wanted automotive manufacturer software, with the exception of the EV manufacturers, because they suck at it. Look at how Volkswagen was having such trouble getting their updates completed, and look at how it hasn't been as smooth as it could have been for the Fords. It's been better than I expected it to be, but their entanglement with the dealers has encumbered the update experience. Plus, a lot of them aren't even software companies. They want to make one thing and be done with you. Come back, see us next year, or the year, or 3 years. It used to be every year, but I think they realized not everybody can make that anymore. But like with my Volts, I had keyless entry on all of them, but on the year before my first one, the keyless entry was only on the two front doors, not the rear doors. So then on my first one, you had keyless entry on all doors. You had keyless entry on all doors. You fell down, baby? Yeah. You give good hugs. Yeah. So it had keyless entry on all the doors. So that was a hardware change, and I totally understand that. But between the first car and the second car, they added on what they call the DIC, which I think is a terrible acronym for the gauge cluster. They added one little gauge that showed you where all the energy was going. And I know that my first car had this because you could see the information in the app. It just wasn't very real time because the app was slow and it wasn't very good. Um, and there was no price I could pay, no service I could order to get that display on the older car. Thankfully, it had some issues that caused it to be almost lemoned out, and they gave me a good deal on a new one, which I should have took. And the new one had the feature, but it was just software. They were running the same equipment. Yes, the battery had a couple 100 watt hours more available to me, but it wasn't a hardware situation, and so that's the kind of experience that the legacy automakers have typically offered with software to their customers. Is they may have some updates, but generally they don't change anything at all. And if they do, and they charge ridiculous amounts for it. Other times they say, "Hey, yeah, our solution to get this new software for the identical unit is to buy a whole new car." So this doesn't give me warm fuzzies at all. At all. The one saving grace to all this is that the way that they built the Hummer EV, with the like it's built on 3D gaming technology, and it has the ability to be updated. But the question next again is, are they going to do anything to it? And I wouldn't hold my breath, not with a legacy automaker. So, to me, it looks like a situation where they are just trying to cut out the licensing fee to Apple. But also, yeah, when we look at what Apple and Google were showing off on their next versions of their car integrations, it was a case of allowing the phone to still do the connection, but allowing them to customize it. So, like, if you got into your GM, it would look a certain way. And if you got into your some other car that still was participating in the program, the gauges and the colors and everything would still look like they belonged in that car. Uh, Polestar, again, as I said, it's gone this similar route to what GM is moving to. Yes, City. But we'll watch it and we'll see, and then at some point I'll have to get out there and test drive it, and or at least test sit in it and try the software out, see if we what my thoughts are on it. All right, so now for the big news of the week so far. It's only Sunday. Uh, the Q1 production numbers and delivery numbers have been released because this is now the start of the second quarter. Well, yesterday was, but yeah. Anyway, April 2nd, 2023 in Austin. So that's the headquarters there. In the first quarter, we produced 400,040 vehicles. That's a nice round number, isn't it, Tesla? What have you done? And delivered over, over, that's why. And delivered over 422,000 vehicles. So 20,000, almost 20,000 vehicles in transit. And let's take a look at the numbers here. So a total of 440,808. With deliveries of 422,875, of which 5% overall were leased. Model S and X, you got 19,437, with 10,695 delivered, 10% on lease. The Model S and X have generally been around this 10% lease mark. I think they were a little higher before you couldn't buy your lease out, and now that's kind of where they are. Then you've got the 3 and Y, of which 421,371 were built, and 412,180 were delivered. And again, only 5% on lease. And because their numbers are so much higher than S and X, they were able to just bring the entire leasing percentage down to their level. Again, these numbers will change very slightly by the time that we get our quarterly report call and letter, because the way that Tesla does reporting of a delivery is when the customer has the keys or key cards in hand, because they don't have a dealer network to buffer their sales. It's not like, hey, we dumped it on 10,000 dealers and they're gone. There's somebody else's problem now. They may have some cases where funding was. Why are you spinning me? She's spinning me. Yes, it'll be. Where are we going? You broke my charger, baby. Oh my goodness. Stand by. I see it. You broke it. It's very well constructed. Just couldn't take that many blows with the floor. I meant to fix this faceplate to it. But there's a lot of glue. So glue and heat. They call it not heat sink, but heat. That's a decent friction fit. Thermal interface material. There we go. That's what I was looking for. This one isn't even mine. All right, so this is the one I need. It's not going to get any better because at my house the floor is also wood-like. No, don't pick it up. Yeah, don't pick it up. All right, it still works. We're charging it again. So it's pretty nice. It's got 4 USB-Cs, and they're 100 watts each. Power delivery, quick charge 2.0, all in. Baby, get off of the cables, please. Let go. Moto, let go. Thank you. No. There we go. Say hi. Say hello. Yeah, there you go. Moto says hi, everybody. So, where was I? What was I talking about? Oh, yes. So the way that the Tesla sells their vehicles, some money may come through, some money may not actually have been there, so those will roll it back. Whereas if they kind of penciled one in and the money shows up in their account on the next business day, which will be Monday, then that sale will be solidified. Or if they weren't sure and they didn't pencil it in, it'll count, and so the number will change slightly. You put on lotion. Here you go. All right. Let's see. The Tesla will post its financial results for the quarter of 2023 after market close on Wednesday, April 19th, 2023. And they will issue a brief advisory containing a link to the Q1 2023 update, which will be available on Tesla's IR website. And management holds a live Q&A webcast at 4:30 Central to discuss the company's financial and business results and outlook. Excuse me. So approximately 2 hours after the Q&A session, an archived version of the webcast will be available on the website. Excuse me. So based on the timing of this, it's at 5:30. Patrick, myself, and Mark will be listening to it. And if it's still going on, Patrick will probably be late to the show on the Tesla Life, and he'll come back with the summary. Or if we are all able to watch it all, then we'll just come back with our summary of it when we start the show. Before we go into the Tesla news of the week. All right, so let's continue on with the Tesla sales. So this one was published before the numbers came out. This one was on March 29th. Tesla was projected to top the Q1. I shouldn't have closed that tab. Let me bring it back. Projected to top the Q1 2023 sales, beating Volkswagen, BMW, and Mercedes. So let's see what they were thinking as far as numbers. Tesla shook the EV industry by announcing deep discounts. Sales are expected to explode over 180,000 in Q1. Let's see what they did. Yes, 180,000 at 422,000 for sales. Oh, but that's in the US. They didn't break Tesla doesn't break the numbers out per region typically. So this might not be as useful. With a projected 5.1 share, Tesla will surpass market automakers, including Mazda, Subaru, and Volkswagen, all of Volkswagen, in the US combined. Only Rivian and Lucid will top Tesla growth with 563.8% and 192.2% respectively. However, the two startups are in the early stages of scaling up. Yes, it's easy to produce huge numbers from next to nothing to building your stuff up. All right, so that wasn't what I thought it was when I added it to the queue. I was thinking that we could look at what's predicted and compare it with what actually happened, but I didn't notice it said US in there. All right, next. All right, so we'll close these. Tesla China sets a new quarterly delivery record with 5 days still to go. So on March 28th, before the end of 5 days, or maybe this was after the fact, so that's why. That's only like 3 days left. Anyway, so they broke it. They set a new record, and the quarter wasn't even done yet. So the insurance registration data showed 15,886 for the fourth week of the month, and that's lower than the previous week, which saw 18,712 between 13 and 19. And the second highest number of registrations was the second since November 28th to December 4th. But that's enough to put Tesla's Q1 quarter at over 126,000 vehicles delivered in China, well clear of the previous quarterly record set in Q3 2022, when over 122,000 vehicles were delivered. Insurance registrations are used as a proxy until official sales numbers are reported by the China Passenger Car Association. So the final numbers may look a little different. Similar situation to why the overall numbers might look different. Because they could have sold some cars that weren't showing up in the insurance registration data. Because if they ended, I don't know if China takes a weekend or not, but anyway, if they ended on, like, say, the 31st, and Tesla already reported them in their world numbers, they might not show up until the next week's report is available in the insurance. And then when the official government number comes out, that's when you'll have the official number. So they suspect Tesla could gain another 9 to 10,000 registrations over the final 5 days of the month. It's pretty cool. All right, so let's go on from Tesla sales and talk about. Oh yes, it's recall season. All right, let's talk about a couple of recalls. 3 of them. All right, so switch tab and then close the old one. Not close the old one, then switch, because that doesn't work. You can't pass it if you've thrown it on the floor. All right, so the Porsche Taycan has been recalled in Canada and Puerto Rico for faulty seatbelt warning chime. It's kind of specific. Why not the US? So just Puerto Rico. Let's see what they say. So Porsche recalled 6,401 Taycans and 911 Carrera vehicles in Canada. So that one's a combustion car. They must share that part. Because the seatbelt chime doesn't comply with federal regulations. The same recall has also been issued by NHTSA, but it only impacts 130 vehicles in Puerto Rico. Right, so maybe it was a batch thing, and that ship with the 130 cars went to Puerto Rico, and it didn't affect the rest of the fleet that went to the mainland and elsewhere, perhaps. Eddie's Bolt goes in tomorrow. So Eddie's going to get that refresh we've been talking to him about for a long time now. And so his Bolt will have a refreshed battery. There we go. I hope it goes smoothly and quickly. And that I'm curious to find out if they give you a loaner car and how they handle it. I think they will, because this one was one of those things they're trying to save face. So even if your dealer doesn't normally do it, I think GM will pay them for a rental for you. At least they did for my Volts when they did their battery campaigns. Let's see. Transport Canada regulations require seatbelt reminder sound and visual indicator that activates when the vehicle is switched on and a passenger is not wearing their seatbelt. In the impacted vehicles, which includes 2020 and 2021 Taycans, Carreras, and 2020 Taycan Turbos, the seatbelt reminder chime may not sound to alert you that the front passenger seat isn't buckled, increasing the risk of injury and crash. This is true. The reason the chime may not sound is because of incorrect software that was only applied to vehicles destined for Canada and Puerto Rico. Okay, that explains why. The Puerto Rico thing, I don't know if it's a matter of Canada or US or not. I think it was just on the same ship as all of them. And where'd that software come from? Did they just miss it? Or because US and Canadian requirements are very well aligned, and Puerto Rico is part of the US, so interesting. Owners of the impacted vehicles will be contacted to have their instrument cluster software updated to the correct coding. Despite the fix being a software update, it will not be over the air, and owners will still have to visit a dealership for it to be installed. See, this is exactly what I was just talking about when I was talking about GM controlling the software of the dashboard more tightly than they do today. This is the kind of experience that we're used to with Legacy Auto. Oh, I got to bring it in to do stuff. Eddie's case makes sense. You can't just do a battery swap at home. Most people can't just do a battery swap at home, and I definitely don't want a single technician coming and trying it. But I would, if you're not going to do it over there, I want somebody to come to my car with a USB stick and stick their laptop in, rather than me have to go take time out of my day while the dealership's open and deal with this garbage. Come on now, this is trash. Anyway, so it's going to be the same situation they told us. Here's the 3 vehicles. and what's wrong with them. It's shameful. This is an OTA. All right. Moving on. The next recall is by Lucid. Lucid recalls 640 of their Air EVs because the electric motors may shut down. See, this would be one I could somewhat forgive not being an OTA update. I don't know the situation on it yet. We haven't got that far. Some manufacturers have decided that their motors and the pedals and a couple of other items are not accessible through their software update programs. It needs to be isolated for cases of hacking or etc. That's their excuse anyway. Usually it's just because another vendor made them and they didn't want to make a interface for it, or they didn't want to make the interface and make it robust. All right, let's see. Certain 2022 and 2023 Lucid Airs in the US because of a potential power loss that may shut down the electric motors. There are 637 Lucid Airs potentially affected by this issue, which may increase the risk of a crash because of a loss of drive power. Yep. According to the company, only 6% of the recalled vehicles are estimated to actually have the defect, which is fine. I would much rather you say, hey, we need you to bring your car in or run this update just in case. We don't know if you're affected or not, or you've got the ingredients, but we don't know if you've actually got the soup. Let's see. Lucid says the problem is caused by the electrically activated contact switches or contactors, which may unexpectedly open. Okay, so this is probably one where they got to inspect something rather than just do a software update. Let's see. Since the contactors transfer energy to the drive motors, power to the electric motors will be cut off if that happens. And so one of the cool things about contactors is you can use them as safety items. And if parameters are incorrect for your voltage, amperage, etc., anything, you get some dirty electricity, they can open and protect the equipment. The problem is if there's nothing wrong and they open, breaking the breaking the circuit. In this, just like in this case, you could lose power when it's wanted, rather than cutting it off when it is dangerous. Let's see. To fix the issue, Lucid service centers will update the vehicle software and replace the contactor switches as necessary, free of charge. They better be free of charge for a recall. The automaker will mail notification letters to the customers on April 21st of 2023. So this one makes sense. There's a software component and a hardware component. So if you've got bad software, they'll update your software. If you've got the contactors that are going to do their job wrong, they will take them out and put in new ones. Now that's one that somebody needs hands on the vehicle. The question then is, do you have to go to the service center or will they send out their mobile technicians? Typically, Tesla won't do high voltage on their mobile technicians unless they've got a spotter there. And so I'm imagining that Lucid will have a similar policy in place when you look at their history of coming from Tesla employees. Let's see. Oh, yeah? Lucid started investigating this in May of 22. That's a long time. When a vehicle is brought in for service following a loss of motive power. At that time, testing a vehicle for the spring force issue required connecting a measuring device to the vehicle during vehicle startup to observe the contactor closing signature. So they were developing the program to determine who was affected. A double dip closing signature indicates a risk of contactor opening, though Lucid says many contactors with a double dip signature have not had unexpected openings. Otherwise, we'd have heard more about Lucid stalling on the road. The supplier and the manufacturer, Sensata Technologies, determined that in a small population of contactors, the spring force may overcome the magnetic holding force. So the car will issue a command to close, and that's done magnetically. But if you cut the power, the spring force is supposed to open it back up. And they're saying here that the springs are too strong, and in certain circumstances, they may push the contactor back open, even though the car is commanding it stay closed, which is not what you want. Lucid says vehicles experiencing a contactor opening may coast to a stop and should restart after vehicle shutdown. The automaker notes that these vehicles may continue to have functional driving displays, power steering, and power brakes. Yeah, because those are powered by the low voltage system. And the DC to DC may even still be running depending on which contactors have opened. If the main contactors on the pack, then yeah, DC to DC will shut down. Hence the turning a car off and turning it back on because it will cycle them again. Yeah, that's a pretty important recall. Car coasting to a stop with everything else working is the least scary way for car to quit. So there's that. Yeah, I mean, there's the problem is the way that people in North America drive is that one, you've got the driver may panic, and two, you've got that there's probably somebody giving them a amateur proctology exam, and so when the car suddenly stops driving at extra legal speeds, it may do so abruptly. I mean, it's a Lucid, so it should be very aerodynamic and it should coast for a while, but that doesn't mean that somebody's not so close that even the immediate cessation of acceleration might be enough for them to rear end you. Let's see. Bad contactor, depot, electromechanical assemblies in a luxury car, keen to cheap ignition assemblies in cars, say 50 cents per vehicle. Just ask GM how that works. Whew, I was there at New GM when that recall, they tried to get out of it. GM did not handle that well, and not at all. That's kind of one of the reasons that Mary got her automotive excellence award, was that she helped them pull out of that monstrosity. Anyway, I also talked to some engineers at Volvo while they were part of Ford, who talked about how Volvo might have bought a 20-cent part to give an extra 2 hours of fire rating, whereas Ford says, hey, this one only costs 5 cents and it meets the minimum requirements for fire safety. Let's go with that part. So it's not necessarily that the engineers were making it cheap. Sometimes the bean counters win. And sometimes the bean counters are right, but when it comes to safety, come on now, just spend it. For quality maybe, but how do you know they were cheap? Maybe they were so advanced and overly complicated they were having reliability issues. This is a possibility. Price makes for better quality control. Cheap does not. The industrial controls arena, a lot of panel engineers use square D contactors throughout the MCC. Those that have critical reliability needs, specifically designed with Spreacher Shun contactors made with heavy silver-plated replaceable contacts and designed with anti-arc chambers to handle picking up and dropping heavy current and voltage loads. Okay, that doesn't mean that they used a bad quality design in the car. First guy was right there. All right, so our final recall story of this week for now is only going to affect one customer. Well, two customers, but nobody watching this show. The Tesla Semi gets its first recall to fix parking brake valve module. Why do I say that? Because Tesla Semi has only been delivered to Tesla Inc. and PepsiCo so far. But let's look at it. So their recall is fix an issue with the parking brake valve modules. The recall in fact affects only 35 of the semi trucks, but the fix cannot be applied over the air and will require a physical service center visit. I don't think they're actually going to take these semis to the service center. Remember that Pepsi is helping to design the service manual, and they are. I guess it would depend on where the part is, but they've got their own people on site, and Tesla's got technicians on site with them. I suspect that the truck just needs to come back to the depot, and the repair facilities on the customer site, and they can replace them there. I don't think they're going to take them back to the service center for this. So anyway, according to the notice, let's see. Problem was first identified on February 13th by one of the suppliers, named Bendix, which had received complaints from some of its customers regarding the parking brake valve modules. So this could be other semis, this could be other Class 6, Class 8 trucks, Class 7 trucks. It doesn't have to be Tesla semis. It could have been anybody else using this brake valve module. Modules could have an issue where they fail to transition when the parking brake is engaged or disengaged. So it could fail to set, which is super dangerous, or it could fail to disengage, which kind of sticks you where you are. Or worse, if you don't realize it didn't let go, you try and overpower it and damage the vehicle. The issue could result in parking brakes not being set or released when the driver thinks they have been. If this is the case, the truck might unintentionally move, increasing the risk of a crash. Yeah, because if the parking brake isn't there, then all you have left is the service brakes. And if the driver isn't there to know to hold the brake pedal, you got a problem. Separately, Bendix filed its own recall with the NHTSA for the component in other trucks. So Tesla's got one, and Bendix has got one. Component in other trucks, with Tesla investigating further and completing a risk assessment for the potential impact on their electric semi-trucks. On March 17th, Tesla completed their analysis and decided to file a voluntary recall with NHTSA. The fix will require the parking brake valves on 35 semis to be replaced with a revised part with improved internals to prevent air leakage and to allow the driver to engage and disengage the parking brakes. So, revised part that'll work. Tesla says there have been no warranty claims, crashes, injuries, or deaths related to this particular issue. Read the full notice below. So, potentially involved units, 35% with the defect, all of them. And so some folks were saying that they were reading this incorrectly and assuming that meant there were only 35 semis sold. But it was only 35 of these semis through the 28th of February. We're now at the end of March. I'm curious if semi is sold enough that it makes the charts this quarter. I'm not counting on it. All right, so that was our recall segment. Let's go on to something. Well, let's go on to something else, and then we'll go on to something more fun. So let's talk about cuts. We're gonna talk about cuts, and then we'll talk about boring, which is still a type of cutting, I suppose. All right, so Lucid has cut 18% of their workforce in a cost-saving move, which is not fun for the people who lost their jobs. For the people who hold the stock, this may mean typically will mean that your stock will go up a little bit because the stock market seems to love people getting fired. And the only problem there is if they think that you're cutting it to save money in the last ditch effort, then it'll actually hurt you. But that's rare. And I'm no stock advice guy, so consult with your own financial advisors for that. So they're going to cut 18% of their workforce. Is it just across the board, or is it targeted? Rollison said the cuts will impact every organization and level of the company, including the executives. So it's across the board. In a memo that was sent out shortly after the meeting, the detailing the plans, it'll impact about 1,290 employees worldwide. Over the next 3 days, impacted employees will be laid off and offered a severance package, which will include access to career resources, healthcare coverage continuation, and acceleration of equity. So those last two I like. She screamed when I moved the chair forward. I thought I ran her finger over. Yeah, health insurance being tied to the employer is an unfortunate situation we have here in the U.S. And so an employer letting mass amounts of people go, making sure that you continue to have access to your healthcare coverage for a while is a nice touch. I would love to see us not need that from the employers. Like maybe it could be actually affordable that we could do it out of pocket and still have tax benefits. Or perhaps we could have some sort of universal payership for the medicine and services. I kind of like the way the German situation is described to us, that they've got the socialized healthcare, but then they can pay extra for private insurance, which actually has to work for your money. They have to be better at getting you your drugs, be better at getting you into the hospital or for procedures than the free option. But we're not there, so I'm glad to see that this company is doing the right thing by the people and making sure they continue to have healthcare coverage. And then the other part right there, the acceleration of equity is really nice because if you are on like an employee stock purchase plan or a vesting schedule or something and they cut you loose, uh, especially if it was not a public company, you've now got a problem of you've got this value that you can't access. And so if they pay it out or if they move your vesting schedule up or whatever it takes to be fair to you, I think that's a good move. And hopefully these folks will land on their feet. So let's go to a different type of cut, one that's still disappointing, but one that's not as life-altering. Rivian has cut the camp kitchen and tunnel shuttle from their online gear shop. They paused this previously and said, oh, we're going to redesign it. We're going to do it better, blah, blah, blah. A couple people got the shuttle and even fewer people got the camp kitchen. And now it's gone for the foreseeable future. They didn't say it was canceled. They just say it was previously listed as not available yet. And so it had a sink, an induction stove, and some utensils, pots, pans, that sort of thing. And then it rode on the gear shuttle so that it would slide in and out of the gear tunnel. This was something I would like to see on the R1S, but it doesn't make any sense because there's no tunnel on that vehicle. It's just an SUV. But I was thinking there was a way they could have done it. But now it doesn't matter. It's not even the truck has it. Let's see, 30-piece kitchen, 3 main modules, cooktop, sink, and water. They're mounted on the tunnel shuttle. And if you didn't use the gear camp kitchen, you could have put your items on the tray. And I think that the Rivian still uses that for their own mobile service vehicles, at least the R1T ones. They slide out and you can access all your tools, just like you see here. If they sell enough of these, I bet you somebody else could make one in the aftermarket. The question would be, can they do it without Rivian coming after them? All right, so it was going to be $1,500 for the tunnel shuttle, and it was $5,000 for the camp kitchen. And let's see. So Rivian's quote is, as we continue the work of delivering the vehicle to our customers as quickly as possible, we've made the decision to halt production of the current versions of the built-in camp kitchen and gear tunnel shuttle. We're exploring updated designs and will offer adventure-ready cooking solutions for our vehicles in the future. So they've now canceled quad motor with the biggest battery pack, and they've canceled the tonneau cover, the motorized tonneau cover. They've canceled the gear shuttle and the camp kitchen. So now Rivian joins the same advice that we give all of our folks interested in Tesla. If you see what you want, you can fit it in your budget, buy it now, because it may change at a moment's notice. And the thing in the future may be better than what you were looking at. Like the dual motor solution is apparently better than the quad motor solution for most customers. But if you wanted it with the big battery, you can't do that anymore. If you wanted the automated tonneau cover, that's gone. It's just like I keep saying with Tesla now with Rivian. If you like what's there, get it, because the next one may be better or it may be worse. Let's see what the Microsoft comments say, and then we'll go over to Inside EVs and see what their comments say. None. Okay, that's a first. Usually, I expected some vitriol there. Electric trucks, blah blah blah. I don't really want to follow them. I want the original article. That's what I'm looking for. Oh, Rivian got it from Electric. Let's see what the Electric comments won't say. There's another view of the camp kitchen, but it's not deployed. The sink and the cooktop just kind of fold flat like that. All right, their top comment was probably wasn't enough orders for these options to make it worth continuing to offer them. The camp kitchen was really expensive for what it offered. Oh yeah, heck yeah. All right, so let's do this. Oh, I was talking about showing you a picture that you couldn't even see. I didn't realize it opened in a new tab. So there's the camp kitchen, not deployed. Or is it looking top down? There's a camp kitchen top down. Because when it's deployed, not deployed, it should be like a triangular shape to fit in the gear tunnel. Ta-da! All right, so let's do inside EVs. Camp kitchen. I guess I should have just clicked on that because that's all I wanted was the comments. We just read the article. Oh yeah, Simone Yurts had a update on Truckla. That was fun. All right, important to prioritize fulfilling reservations. Rivian needs to remember what makes them unique, and it's a reason why people made the reservations for these cars in the first place. Rivian set itself apart from other vehicles because of its adventure vehicle, or it is an adventure vehicle, and if it pulls or modifies too many things, it becomes a typical EV. The camp kitchen is best served by aftermarket anyway. I doubt enough people ordered it to make it worthwhile for Rivian to bother with. Well. Rivian is taking a cue from the book of Tesla. That's what I just said. With later of what used to grab attention and prospective customers for the Rivian adventure vehicle and all the options that make this possible. Now Rivian is focused on manufacturing a BEV instead of an adventure BEV, including the kitchen sink. This could be used as an example of what happens when CGI and manufacturing reality collides. All right, I wouldn't necessarily say that. You've got a new manufacturer that's working on their first ramp, and some people did get it. But if you snooze with these things, you might miss out. I won't say lose. The killer blow, their numbers are their number one selling point, and people who want them otherwise, it's just an expensive truck. All right, so no, I also thought of another thing they canceled. They canceled the tank turns for everybody, so there was no point if you had ordered it that you actually got that. It's really going to take the shine off my apocalypse. It could. All right, so moving on. Talked about another type of cutting, which is boring, literally boring through the ground. The Boring Company shares a quick glimpse at Proof Rock 3 in a new photo. And we're not done with the Boring Company. But I didn't get the other article in the right place for this to work. All right, so Proof Rock 2 returns home after another Bastrop tunnel. Great job by the Boring Company team in advancing rapid retrieval and continuous mining. And a subtle cameo by Proof Rock 3. Is that it in the background? Because I imagine this is Proof Rock 2 up there. Here's this third generation custom tunneling machine might be ready for deployment soon. Yeah, why else would you bring the old one out if it's not done with its work? The eventual launch and performance of Proof Rock 3 are extremely interesting, considering the company's ambitious targets for their machines. The 2018 information session, tunneling startup noted that Proof Rock would be fully Boring Company designed TBM. Yeah, because previously they were firstly releasing other people's stuff, and then they started modifying stuff. And I guess this is their first ground up design. Musk then noted that Proof Rock would be about 10 to 15 times faster than the current boring machines in the market. And it's partly due to the all-electric approach, which makes it easier to construct cleaner tunnels. Good point. The official page on the website shows the boring machine is designed for quick projects with the TBM designed to start tunneling within 48 hours of arrival on a digging site. That's incredibly quick. So they drop it off on a Monday, and it's actually been in the dirt for a while by Friday. It also has very lofty goals in terms of performance, with its medium-term goal of exceeding 1/10 the human walking speed, which is 7 miles per day. That is impressive. Remember, they're trying to beat Gary the Snail, and as far as I understand, they haven't done that yet. The Robin's open type TBM used in the Katoomba carrier tunnel set several world records, providing a best day of 172.4 meters, the best week of 702.8 meters, and a best monthly average of 1,189 meters during its operation. Such a machine would be considered very slow compared to Pruvot's target speed. Yes, that's correct. So we're talking miles versus meters and feet. So far, the Boring Company appears to have deployed at least one Prufrock machine to one of its commercial projects. In February 22, the startup shared a short video of Prufrock 1 arriving at Resorts World in Las Vegas Strip. Yeah, I remember that. We talked about it. Really did the one tunnel instead of two. Just for a professional perspective, tunneling is hard. Yes, it is. Intrepid Aussies are battling remote and wild mountain conditions to bring this to life. Pumped hydro, white elephants, less than snail space. All right, so that guy is complaining about pumped hydro. Pumped hydro works. It's the water battery. Doesn't mean that the project he's talking about wasn't done poorly. I don't know. All right, let's look at some new stuff that doesn't drive. Then we'll talk about Ford, Fisker, and China. Or Tesla China, I should say. Not just Tesla China. Let's talk about some new Tesla products. And then let's get started. So I talked about a new vehicle that doesn't drive. This catamaran is not a yacht. It's another one of these electric trash collectors. Cast it out, and it just goes through sucking up trash and leaving clean water in its wake. So this is the Waste Shark, and it's I guess what's different about it is it's more of a catamaran than a water wheel. The idea came about in South Africa after seeing two people fishing rubbish out of the water with a fishing net, and he thought there must be a better way. Passion for sustainability, he got to work. In 2016, with the help of Port XL program, he developed the idea as part of a new startup, Ran Marine Technology. The Waste Shark can navigate waters autonomously for 3 miles, collecting more than 1,100 pounds of plastic or waste pollution with an open mouth design. Powered by 2 electric thrusters and controlled by 4G, the robotic shark can prowl through the water for up to 6 hours in autonomous mode or 8 hours with remote control. So, the later versions of these water wheels have solar, and they can just kind of sit out there for quite a while. And some of them kind of collect it for barges to come up and they dump, and others have other solutions for offloading their waste. So this seems all right for a first gen, but you definitely would want it to be able to deploy for a long time and not have to come in to dump. In addition to cleaning plastic, it can also collect natural materials such as algae, duckweed, and other aquatic plants while collecting water quality data. It's purely electric with no noise or light pollution or damage to the environment or wildlife in its travels. Its batteries are inside, so it's purely electric, and while it's running around, it's also measuring the quality of the water. Waste Shark can be purchased for roughly $24,600 or leased for around $1,200 a month. It's not bad. Although if you plan to deploy it for more than 2 years, you might as well just buy it. Well, depending on how your business is set up, clearly. All right, Electric says, as the brains behind the Waste Shark, his dreams of having millions of these electric plastic eating robots deployed to not only clean the water of waste, but also to collect the data on the water quality of the water. According to the information from the WWF, World Wildlife Fund, which helped deploy the first Waste Shark in the UK, 8 million tons of plastic are dumped in the oceans each year, with significant consequences to wildlife. For example, 90% of the world's seabirds have plastic fragments in their stomachs, and up to 80% of mussels taken from British beaches have contained microplastics. It's a growing epidemic, and if we don't get it under control and reverse the damage we've already caused, It will threaten the existence of certain species altogether. Products like Waste Shark help clean our waters. Next up, we need solar powered version that can tackle. Yes, I just said can tackle the plastic in the deep ocean. Okay, so I wasn't even talking about deep ocean, but yeah, that's a good idea too. All right, so I'm gonna save that one for later. All right, so we talked about Ford closing their autonomy division, or at least one of them, and now Ford has also backed out of a autonomous vehicle petition to, I believe, the government. In a letter to NHTSA, Ford announced it's abandoning its petition that it will allow it to operate autonomous vehicles without physical human controls. So it doesn't look like we're going to get a Super Blue Cruise anytime soon. Something like GM's Ultra Cruise or Tesla's future version of FSD. Tesla Robotaxi. Anyway, Ford announced it will no longer pursue a petition to operate autonomous vehicles without human controls. The technology was initially meant to be implemented into vehicles as part of its joint venture with Argo AI, which is closed. Or not to say Argo AI, but the Ford venture with it is closed. With the abandoning of the project with Volkswagen, it is no longer looking to implement the technology. So this was just inevitable then. All right, let's talk about Fisker. The Fisker Ocean is rated to go 440 miles on charge in Europe. This is the WLTP rating, so the top extreme trim, Sport and Ultra ranges come later, so they're probably not as good. So let's do 440 minus 30%. So we should expect around 308 miles on the EPA, roughly. That's not bad. The BMW iDrive iX Drive 50 tops out 393 on WLTP, and the Mustang Mach-E can do 372 miles, while the EQS can do 365 miles, and the Tesla Model Y can do 351 miles on WLTP. So we'll wait for people to get their hands on it, tell us what we can really do in Europe, and then we will await more reasonable test results from other governments. All right, so Tesla's got a couple of new products coming out, and these first two articles, Tesla China teases mystery announcement from its Cyber Vault on April 3rd. And so this is what the first sighting we saw of it was Cyber Vault, and it had a black drape, and somebody pointed out that we saw this at Investor Day. And then there's some more photos of screenshots. And somebody translated it. It says, "Who's the protagonist this time? Special form super power up, timed for 3 days." It's obviously machine translation. And so then we'll go on to a later update on the Cyber Vault, where we get a picture. It looks like the Cybertruck backpack. So they shared an image of the Cyber Vault, but they didn't tell us anything more. So April 3rd, which I guess we'll talk to you about it on the Tesla Life this week. But we've got the Cyber Vault photo. We don't know what it is, what it does. Like if it's the new version of Powerwall, it's really gonna be kind of cool. Whatever it is, it looks like an appliance. I wonder if we could also use it to receive packages, but I don't know. I'd want something like that bolted to my house. I say that while I've actually got a package delivery safe that bolts to my sidewalk. I guess that would be a better solution. Who knows what it is, but I'm curious, and we'll find out. And so they updated the posting translation, and here we go. Let's make this bigger. That didn't quite do what I wanted. Bearing Cybertruck design aesthetics, unique. Painting and sandblasting process to something. Sorry, it was much clearer on my phone. Can I make this bigger? Can I download it? What can I do? Ah, there we go. I can zoom. Painting and sandblasting process to restore high purity colors. Silver box shines colorful and brilliant. Cyber power up. Hardcore set off. Tesla charging new products launched. Countdown 2 days. All right, so if this is really Tesla charging, some folks suggested that perhaps it was like either an interface to the power walls where you could now DC charge the car, or I'd rather not do too much speculating on this thing, but let's see. I'm excited that there is a new product, and if the Tesla charging translation is right, that's even more interesting to me. Given the caption, this is a charging product, the natural assumption is that it is a new wall connector. It looks way too big for that. While this appears to be the case, there also appears to be more to it that just as a leaked image of a product shared by a user on Weibo shows. Significantly larger than the traditional wall connector, yes. Oh, well, there we go. So they've zoomed in on it. That's why it's also very wide compared to Tesla wall connector. So I was gonna say maybe it was two of them, but no, it's not. There we can see the connection there on the side. I wonder. That thing is huge compared to the current Tesla wall connectors. That was gonna be the 80 amps. Mine's 80 amps, and so I really like it because my car can charge 72 amps. Unlike the non-legacy cars. Take that, non-legacy cars. But you guys have better range than me. Aside from the fact it doesn't have the Tesla logo on it like it does in the promotional image, this appears to be the genuine product. Given its sheer size, this has to be something more than just an EV charger, and Tesla fans are speculating as to what it could be. One of the options thrown around is that it's both a Powerwall and an EV charger. It's too small to be a Powerwall. Unless it's like a temporary, I don't know, it's a little small to be a Powerwall. When you look at the size of that connector there. Could be as large as a CCS connector, and that would still make this pretty small to be a Powerwall, because a Powerwall is quite large and heavy. Here's what it could be. But vehicles and grid would be great. Another theory is this charger has V2G to go along with the Cybertruck. However, Tesla recently said that bidirectional charging capability wouldn't be coming to their vehicles until around 2025. The odd thing about the Cybertruck-inspired product is that the announcement is going to be made by Tesla China, a market which is not going to be receiving the Tesla Cybertruck for several more years, if ever. And this product is specifically for the Cybertruck, or if it is specifically for the Cybertruck, that would make more sense for Tesla to announce it in North America. So this is more likely to be something for all Tesla vehicles and not just the Cybertruck. Fortunately, we won't have to wait long because tomorrow. Anybody here want to speculate on it? I mean, I don't know where to begin with it, so I don't want to. But if you want to, I'm curious what your thoughts are. But darn if I can figure it out. Whatever it is, rest assured they'll sell a bunch of them. No. Same. All right, moving on. Some more Tesla products. I told you that it wasn't just the one. Tesla Giga Beer is launched in Europe and it's not cheap. So we knew Tesla Giga Beer was coming, but now it's out. And it's a limited edition Pilsner style beer in a bottle designed after Cybertruck. It's unfortunately only available in Europe, and as with all limited edition Teslas, it's not cheap. Over 2 years ago, when Musk was at Berlin for the first for the Giga party, there's a relatively low-key announcement for Giga Beer, and then nothing was revealed about the product except for a couple images. The launch date, and it looked like it would not make it to market with the name Giga Beer because somebody objected. 24 hours before Tesla, that sucks. Looks like the two parties were able to come to an agreement, and Tesla launched Giga Beer in Europe this afternoon. According to the product website, Giga Beer contains 330 milliliter bottles, which Tesla says are designed to emulate the form of the Cybertruck while honoring the 500-year tradition of German beer making. Sorry, I don't even want to tackle that. Reinhard, what? Um, says the better, but I'm guessing the beer is brewed in Berlin with the exclusive strain of cyber hops and notes of citrus, bergamot, and sweet fruit. The design of the bottles has changed slightly from the initial reveal, and now the Tesla Giga watermark glows in the dark. Oh, that's cool. It's gonna be yours if you live in Europe for 89 euros, or 181 Canadian, or 97 US. $97 for three. So this is 355 milliliters. And they said what, 330 milliliters? Yes. So less than this of beer for $97. Wow. Brewed for cyborgs, made for humans. Giga beer now available at gigabeer.tesla.com/en_ie/gigabeer. All right then. But not available in the US. I've been wanting some Giga beer. He loves Pilsners. Come on, Elon. Let's see if we just go without the extra stuff. I noticed it's got a prefix rather than a subdomain rather than a folder. The cars and other products have a folder directory. So it's like an event. The events tend to have subdomains. I spelled Gigabeer wrong. Out of territory. We're sorry. Gigabeer is not available in your country, but you can still browse our other products on Tesla Shop. I only wanted to browse this product, even though I couldn't buy it. So I'm not even allowed to look at it. Don't look over here. All right, then. What do you guys think of Gigabeer? Meanwhile, I'm going to load up some stories regarding AI and Tesla Semi software. Some price increases from several manufacturers. A new DC fast charger. And then I found the tax articles. All right, that's a good enough next section. Let's move on to it. Come on. So I've said for a while that I respect the likes of Musk and Bill Gates regarding AI. They are fearful and cautious in the way they're moving forward versus the approach taken by Bezos and Zuckerberg. They seem to think that they're smart guys and they don't have to worry about whatever's coming. I'm not saying that that's how they really feel, but that's the impression they give. And now several people and companies have come forward suggesting we do a 6-month pause on any future AI technology. I like the idea of the caution, but this 6-month pause I think is foolhardy because now we're in another Cold War arms race type of situation where we may convince enough people to stop in the Western world, but you've got other places like, say, China and Russia that may not agree with us and participate in this stoppage. There's very little way to actually verify this. And is 6 months enough? As well as the fact that what's really scaring them right now is ChatGPT, which is a large language model, which is not it's not trying to be a general or specialized AI as far as it predicts words. It predicts the next word coming up based on what you've given it. And it lies a lot. It gets stuff wrong. or they call it hallucination. So while I feel that yes, proceeding cautiously makes sense, I don't know that because this thing can tell a reporter that he should divorce his wife and marry it instead, is really a threat. Like the way it's designed, it's got significant safeguards and circuit breakers intact. It's not allowed to do stuff like make viruses or, um, for the most part, except for the Bing implementation, it's not allowed to access the web. I don't know. I'm just curious what you guys think of the way that we're approaching AI. I do agree that there's an element of recklessness to it, but I don't think our problem is going to be ChatGPT. I think that our problem is going to be something more Skynetty. But that's just me. So Wired had a story here, and then, like I said, a bunch of folks are passing around a petition, and I don't think the petition is the way to go. Let me check something real quick. I'm slowing down here. There might be a reason. Oh yeah, there's a reason. I'm approaching the lower bound of my sugars. Almost. Okay, so you may have seen some Tesla Semi breakdown photos, videos, or some people may have gleefully shared or tagged you in some photos of a Tesla Semi getting towed away by a semi tow truck. We're learning now is that many of these, of there have been at least 8 that we can count, have been um, due to drivers being afraid of being reprimanded for doing something wrong. And why would they be reprimanded for doing something wrong? What's happening is both screens are cutting out, going blank, and during that time, that's your speedometer, that's your extra camera mirrors, that's everything that they would expect to be finding on their gauges. Now, just like all the other Teslas, when the MCU screen is off, the vehicle is still functioning. But what they're afraid of is if they exceed the speed limit, or if something is missing from the screen, like an error about overheating or some sort of malfunction, that they will be punished for that. I'm curious if any of the drivers are also Tesla owners of any length, like where they would be used to driving the vehicle with the MCU rebooting, or that if the screens are blank but the cell connection is still up, that they could use their cell phone app to get a lot of information about the vehicle still. But I don't blame them. I mean, if you're a professional driver and exceeding the speed limit gets you a reprimand, that you probably have a limited amount of those, or worse, if it doesn't just get you in trouble with the company, but gets you in trouble with the law. Now you can't just go work somewhere else. And these are really nice to drive, from what I'm hearing from people who've been able to talk to the drivers. Is that I mean, you might not want to go back to a diesel monster, so you just pull over, you'll call dispatch and say, "Hey, I've got blank screens." I don't know if you can just do the scroll wheel reset and have it come back. I would imagine if that was the case, they would have already taught them how to do that. But we'll find out more about why these screens are turning off going forward, and probably before another company gets to use these trucks. Another company being not PepsiCo and not Tesla. So yeah, so most of them were attributed to dash and screen issues. Some users blame the loss of range for carrying heavy cargo. I wonder what's up with that, because if you're carrying heavy cargo, it's rated for 500 miles with a full load. So are your tires underinflated? What are you doing? Or is this the speculation crew? Because as many even consider mechanical problem. So I think it's the speculation crew. Semi's pretty new, but at least some of the reported breakdowns can be safely attributed to a glitch, which is a software switch instead of a breakdown. If the drivers pull over when they notice the displays going dark or flickering, simply speaking, they do not know how to deal with it, and hence pull over as a precautionary measure. Drivers in the logistics department of Frito-Lay have revealed that they pull over as the digital displays offer information on speed, range, surround views, suspension information, and more. With the displays malfunctioning, the drivers fear running into issues for which they can be reprimanded. Hence, they get the trucks towed to a secret location in Lathrop for repair work. The tow truck driver claims to have transported at least 4 semis to this location so far. And then they point out that it's too early to call it a dud. Problems are to be expected, blah, blah, blah. All right, so that was the Tesla Semi. Next, Ford has announced another price increase for the F-150 Lightning. So on top of the one we talked about last time, this one is the Lightning Pro. So the base model that used to start at $40,000 or $39,999. I don't remember if they actually did the 39, but it was in the 40s, low 40s. Especially once you add on all the dealer delivery BS. I'm not talking the markups and stuff. I'm talking just like if it was a straight sale by an honest dealer that wasn't trying to gouge your eyes out. It would have been in the low 40s. So now it's been increased again for the commercial truck, the Pro series, or the work truck, from 57,869, which was where it had been previously increased to. Now it's starting at 61,869. So this is the 4th price hike since the launch, making it nearly $20,000 more expensive than when it debuted in April 2022. The Lightning Pro is currently sold out for retail customers, and Ford does not announce when it will be available again. So you may be able to get it through a fleet program, or you may be able to find one on a dealer lot. But Ford is not making any more for this model year. The 2023 Ford Lightning Lariat standard range will increase by $1,500 to $77,869, including destination. The top platinum trim will, with the standard extended range battery pack, will increase by $1,200 to $99,969. Ooh, that's just scraping $100,000, and it will be well over it by the time the dealer gets their hand on it, even an honest one. Along with the price increase, Ford said Thursday it had resumed taking orders for the F-150 Lightning after a production halt in February due to a battery issue. That was the one where we discovered that the battery was kind of flexing during charging and shorting out. They fixed that, and it was a manufacturing defect. And it wasn't the whole fleet. It was just a batch. Oh, maybe not a batch, but it was a small number. It wasn't the whole. It wasn't a design flaw. It was a limited failure. Anyway, Ford has a goal of reaching an annual production rate of 150,000 EVs by the fall. However, production bottlenecks have meant that Ford delivered only 15,617 trucks in 2022, despite having 200,000 reservations at the end of the year. And remember, they want to do 600,000 cars this year. This year, from 15,000 cars. It's a tall order, and we'll see if they get even close to it. Moving on to more price increases. The Porsche Taycan is going to see a price increase for 2024 model year. So most automakers are lowering their prices for EVs, except for Ford, Porsche, and one other. Some of them are not participating at all in the lowering of prices, but most of them followed Tesla in the price cut saga. Price increases take effect in the US and Canada and all other markets around the world where you can buy a Taycan. Earlier this month, Porsche warned it was going to be imposing a significant price increase on its vehicles for the new model year. In a call with investor deputy chairman and member of the executive board of finance and IT. That's quite a job, IT too, at Porsche AG Minsk. So the price increases would be necessary to maintain and grow the margins amid investments in developing new EVs. So more cases of companies gouging us out. So anyway, here's a table. Porsche has done just that, raising prices across the entire Taycan lineup by between 4 and 5%. Let's take a look at this. All right, so our lowest increase is 3.94% on the Taycan GTS Sport Turismo, starting at 154,700, moving up to 160,800. And other vehicles sharing this dollar price increase are Taycan GTS and the Taycan 4S. Obviously, their percentage is different because they are different trims. And then you've got $8,700 price increase on the Taycan Turbo and Taycan Turbo S. And then you've got, also the Taycan Turbo S Cross Turismo. And then you've got a $9,500 price increase on the Taycan Turbo Cross Turismo, going from $180,000 to $189,500 Canadian for all of them. All right, so then the US, so it wasn't so bad. $4,200 to $7,500 price increase. Maybe it just hurts to look at it Canadian first. All right, moving on. One more price increase we got to talk about, also from Germany. VW Canada has announced a $2,500 price increase on existing ID4 orders. Ooh. Have you guys not learned when Rivian tried this trap? You don't raise the price on people who've got reservations. You get it for the people who are not yet in line. And then we can say, hey, this is what you do. You want it, get in line before they mess with you. All right, so I'm curious what this update is. Volkswagen notified existing ID4 reservation owners they'll be paying more for their EV SUV when it arrives. The increase comes at a time when customers have been experiencing lengthy delivery delays and the removal of previously standard features, like the heat pump. You can no longer get your heat pump on many VAG Group vehicles, including the ID4. All right, so on Monday, VW Canada says they're increasing the price of all ID4 models in Canada by $2,500 Canadian, and the price increase will go into effect on March 31st. So, like, if your car is on a ship, you're just screwed. With VW specifying in the email, it applies to existing orders. So I'm hoping the update that we hear is seeing them fixing that mess. All right, so in a statement to Drive Tesla, VW Canada spokesperson said the price increase was unavoidable due to significant increases in raw material costs and a weaker Canadian dollar. Customers whose ID4 was already on the way to a dealer will not see a price increase. There you go. That's the way to do it right there. Oh, but not good enough. But anyone else who's outside of that window will be subject to a new higher price. If they've got the money, see, this is a difference right here from them and Tesla. Since there's a dealer involved, you can get the car ordered without enough money changing hands that they can be locked in. Whereas if you order it from Tesla, you've already paid them an order fee, and the vehicle is inbound. Customer whose ID4 is already on the way to dealer, blah, blah. The spokesperson said that those opting out of their purchase will receive a full refund of their deposit. Yeah, otherwise you're stealing. Not only will the customer be paying more for the ID4 in a few days, they'll also be receiving fewer standard features, like we talked about, the removal of the heat pump. That's really weird they removed it from the Canadian orders. Anybody who should want it to be a cold place. Supply chain constraints also forced the removal of the 360 cameras, power folding mirrors, and the premium digital sound and the subwoofer for some configurations. Just slap somebody in the face, why don't you? The price increase for the ID4 in Canada comes a few months after a similar $1,500 price increase in the US. And you can read the email below. All right, so you guys can read the email while I prep up the next article. All right. So here's an industry I didn't know that Huawei was participating in. Huawei makes supercharger type. They make DC fast chargers. So Huawei's 600 kilowatt supercharger leaked at par with Tesla V4. I don't think that's accurate because V4 at full capacity is a megawatt charger. But perhaps what they're saying is the 600 kilowatt is what you'll see on a non-Tesla at the V4 station, where Tesla doesn't blow through any of the nameplate numbers. All right, let's see. 200 volts to 1,000 volts max, so that is matching with the Tesla. Output current of 600 amps. I think that matches with the V4. I'm not sure of the amperage rating. It'll be in compliance with 2015 DC fast charging standard in China. While Huawei has been providing many DC fast chargers, it'll be the first time that one of its chargers will compete with V4, other than outclassing 500-watt fast charger launched by NIO in 2022. Oh, I see what they're saying. Okay. So, other than the NIO charger, this is the only other one to be in the same league as the V4. It's going to be called the Fusion Charger. It's not a bad name, actually. Currently, the V4 has a max output of 600 kilowatts, which is more than the 480 offered by Xpeng's S4 supercharger. So I'm guessing that 600 kilowatts would be what we saw on the ones implemented in the Netherlands. And the reason I say that way is Tesla doesn't yet have a need for the full output, so why waste the money? However, since we know the Tesla Semi charger is just a V4 charger with a different enclosure, then I would say the highest output is 700 and change kilowatts, because that's what Pepsi has decided to install in theirs. They didn't install the 1,000 kilowatts or the 1 megawatt. They went for 700 and change. So anyway, it'll be capable of offering 100 kilowatt hours in just 10 minutes. That's incredible. Other information is that the equipment has been manufactured by Huawei Digital Energy Technology Co. Limited, and its dimensions are marked as 295 millimeters by 340 millimeters by 1,700 millimeters length, width, and I don't know what the B is. Length, width, and height. The charging cable has been provided, measures 3.5 meters in length, and will be marketed as Fusion Charger. It'll be liquid cooled, and Huawei has been developing high-power charging technology. It goes on to show its focus on setting up a robust charging infrastructure to support the EV industry. It's important to note that Huawei already offers the DT600 L2-CNA1 DC fast charger that has two cables, 1,000 volt voltage, and total power output of 360 kilowatts, and maximum current output of 250 amps. So this is like a huge step up for them, other than voltage, which went down. Current EVs are not ready for such high power equipment. We know this. I don't know if we talked about this last week or not. It's not new to April 1st. It was available last week. On the Rivian, yeah, we talked about it because I was talking about how the selection works with the level 2s and such. Anyway, a reminder that you can find superchargers on Rivian's navigation screen. All right, getting into the taxes. US and Japan have reached an agreement on the trade of EV battery minerals. And that talks about the $7,500 credit. It goes on. And then we talk about the updates to the tax credit. Let's see if anybody summarized this thing with public information for me. Why do I keep saying it that way? I've got some information available to me that I haven't looked at, so that I don't say something I shouldn't say. Let's see. All right, so the new regulations won't go into effect until April 18th. And to be eligible for the full tax credit, you still need to have two criteria. One is where the battery is mined, and the other is where the battery is made. The first set of criteria specifies at least 50% of the value of the battery components must be produced or manufactured in North America by the fiscal year of 2023. So that sounds like a ramp up to me. I thought it was 2028 or similar initially, or at least how much of it. The minimum percentage will increase annually. The second set of criteria requires at least 40% of the value of critical minerals used for the vehicle, including cobalt, copper, nickel, graphite, and lithium, must be extracted, processed, and or recycled domestically or in a country with free trade with the U.S. The minimum percentage will also increase annually. Below, the annual increases for both criteria can be seen in the chart below. All right, so today you need to have 50% of the components made in the U.S. and 40% manufactured in a U.S. zone. And by fiscal year 2029, it needs to be 100% made in the U.S. and 80% made in U.S. economic control. See, these dates aren't bad, but that one was aggressive, way more than they told us. I was thinking like next year, based on what they were telling us at first. Other than that, it's going to change. Tesla was already notifying potential buyers on its website that expects the rear-wheel drive will no longer be eligible for the full tax credit come April 18th, with an updated message on the design studio, which reads, new Model 3 and Y vehicles qualify for federal tax credit for eligible buyers. Based on new IRS guidance, the 7,500 credit is now anticipated to be reduced for Model 3 rear-wheel drive on April 18th. So what I expect to see when we go there, aside from that exact message, is maybe pushing us off to vehicles in stock. Tesla.com/Model 3. It's a big old view inventory button. Add a chat. There's a big old warning. Same as he just said. See details. And then they tell you what they know so far. So customers who take delivery of a qualified Tesla and meet all federal requirements are eligible for tax credit up to $7,500. Based on new IRS guidance, the $7,500 credit is now anticipated to be reduced for rear-wheel drive on April 18th. Adjusted gross income limitations are $300,000 for married couples filing jointly, $225,000 for heads of household, $150,000 for everybody else. Price caps. The vehicle's price at the time of delivery must not exceed the following caps. Price includes optional equipment physically attached to the vehicle at the time of delivery and excludes software features, accessories, taxes, and fees. So $15,000 of FSD doesn't affect it. However, 20-inch wheels does. So Model 3 can be up to $55,000 and Model Y can be up to $80,000. Your eligibility for any tax credits depends on your personal tax situation, and we recommend speaking with a tax professional for guidance, as do I. Now let's go on to other stuff. All right, let's talk about Amazon, efficient cars. I think we talked about the Fisker already. I don't know. Let's pretend we didn't. And Tesla snapping back at people saying stuff in the news. Tesla batteries. Neo. that's a good section for that segment. Okay, let's go to close the Tesla Model 3 page. Amazon's fleet of Rivian electric fans now tops 3,000 units. Not bad. So Amazon posted an update saying they now have 3,000 Rivian EDVs located across the U.S. Still well off of their goal of having 10,000 on the road. Bennett says, best thing to remember, free white paint wraps well, and the rims are available for purchase. You can get a lot for $7,500. Great point, because if you get them after the fact, they're not attached to the vehicle at the time of purchase, and with the wrap, you can change it a couple times before you've hit your savings there, and it protects the paint underneath a little bit. It won't protect it from the worst of the rock strikes, but it's better than nothing. It's a great idea. I like it. Yeah. And depending on how you order the wheels and tires, or the wheels from Tesla, sometimes they come with free tires. All right. In fact, let's go to the Tesla shop after this. All right. So the Rivian EDVs. Oh yeah. You don't have to get the Tesla wheels either. You can get aftermarket like T Sport line and others. All right. So let's see. They started using the EDVs in the summer of 22, and in November had 1,000 that delivered over 5 million packages. Now it's 3,000 vehicles, which are operating in 500 cities and delivering over 75 million packages. So I never would have seen one had I not moved. Not never, but they wouldn't have been delivering where I was. But I might have ran into one if I traveled. It's going to be a while now, based on where I am. Amazon says it's still committed to having 1,000 EDVs on the road by 2030. And in addition to the Rivian EDVs, Amazon has also deployed more than 15 models of electric vehicles on the road, including other delivery vehicles, cargo e-bikes, e-rickshaws, to test them from the US and Europe and India. The slow rate of expansion has resulted in Rivian negotiating with Amazon to end their exclusivity deal, and the original terms of their 2019 deal granted Amazon exclusive access to the EDV for 4 years after the first one was delivered, but that was only if Amazon purchased 10,000 EDVs in the first 2 years after that delivery. The company is reportedly only looking to purchase another 10,000 EDVs this year, leading Rivian to seek the end to the exclusivity part of the deal. Yeah, I mean, if they're only buying the first tranche, why would you not want to sell the vehicle to other people? All right, so let's go to the Tesla accessory shop. That one is a subdomain. I did it as a directory and they moved me. Let's go to vehicle accessories for Model 3. All right, so chains, roof rack, center console trays. They sell their own trays now. They want some of that money. So I guess Matthew, Donegan, and Ryan might have been right about them having their own accessories department. Step it up for the Cybertruck. All right, phone charging cable, automatic garage door opener, sunshades. Oh yeah, that expensive solid state drive. Car cover, PPF. Their PPF is not whole cars like this. For $50. Mud flaps, license plate frames. Here we go. All right, so sport wheel and winter tire package, $3,000. You get free winter tires with their wheels. Aero wheel and winter tire package is $2,000. Or you can get 20-inch Uber turbine wheels and winter tires for $4,000. Snow chains, the track package, $5,500. Replacement aero covers, aero wheel cap, tire tote, new TPMS, All right, that's all I'm saying for wheels and tires. Let's actually click on wheels and tires, see if they have more. Nope, it just kind of scrolls through that part of the page. So yeah, as Bennett was saying, you can these are winter tires, but you can still get a set of summer or all seasons to go with these and still be under the 7,500 versus losing the 7,500 because you went up an inch on your wheels on the car price. And then there are plenty of aftermarket options. All right, so we were talking about vehicle efficiency, and the Hyundai Ioniq 6 is tied with the Lucid Air as the most efficient EV in Canada. Let's see. NR CAN testing shows 14.9 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, and in gasoline equivalent, that is 1.5 liters per 100 kilometers in the city, and 1.9 liters to 100 kilometers on the highway, and 1.7 liters per 100 kilometers combined. Now it says matching, but I would say it's actually beating, because look at this right here. City watt hours, kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers is 13.7 with 18-inch wheels versus 14.9 on the Lucid Air, so it beats it. But the combined is where they match right there, 14.9 to 14.9. On highways where they lose it, 16.2 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers to 14.9 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So Lucid Air is one of those ones that matches city and highway consumption. So when you average it out, it's all the same. Whereas the Ioniq is lower, more efficient in the city and less efficient on the highway, which averages the same. So your annual fuel cost is expected to be 447 Canadian dollars, and your range on the Ioniq is 581 kilometers and 660 on the Lucid Air Pure. However, the Ioniq 6 should cost significantly less than the Lucid Air Pure with 19-inch wheels. Just saying. Bennett says the cool thing about buying rims after the fact is you have two sets instead of one. Easier for seasonal tire changes. Absolutely. Or if you feel like changing, or you have a full-size spare on hand, or maybe you have a track day and so you can have just your sport tires ready if you do track days. Any number of advantages to that. In addition to not just having the same wheels as everybody else, assuming that you went aftermarket. All right, so I don't remember if we talked earlier about the 440-mile range and 707-kilometer WLTP range rating of the Fisker Ocean. I think it was the Fisker Ocean that we talked about. I don't remember. I know we talked about one. Let me do the math again. 440 minus 30%. I bet you it was 308. Yeah, it was. Sorry. Moving on. Tesla corrects a study claiming that it only installed 3,000 solar roofs in the US. Tesla set the record straight on the number of solar roofs it's installed in the US when Wood Mackenzie claimed it only installed 3,000. The company published a new study with the wrong figure, claiming that Tesla failed to reach 1,000 installations per week. They based their estimates on proprietary project-level data sets, which showed that Tesla installed 21 roofs per week on average in 2022, with a peak of 32 per week in the first quarter. As a result, they say that less than 0.03% of the US roofing market went to Tesla in 2022. But Tesla says that is incorrect by a large margin. That's it. No further details. That's it. All right. So they didn't give us the actual figure. And in the shareholder deck, it said that solar deployments increased by 18% year on year or over 100 megawatts in the last quarter of the year. Tesla deployed 348 megawatts of solar for the whole year, the highest since 2017. Yeah, but does that solar include just Solar Roof, or is that solar? Because they do both. Moving on. I don't think there was a comment on that article. So Tesla is pursuing co-building a new U.S. battery plant with CATL. This is going to be probably for the lithium iron phosphates, and it's not unprecedented. Gigafactory 1 is based on this. The 2170 line for the Panasonic partnership, where Panasonic builds the Tesla spec cells in Tesla's facility. So they have a blueprint for this. Tesla considering all of its battery supply options to power its planned massive expansion. One of them is teaming up with the biggest battery maker, CATL, to build a battery plant in the US, according to a report by Bloomberg. So what this will do, once it's completed, is restore the rear-wheel drive base Model 3 ability to qualify for the tax credit, as well as reduce its costs as far as logistics is concerned, because there's less shipping involved. Tesla plans to skirt any controversy from working with a Chinese company by towing the same line as Ford. The legacy automaker came to a complex arrangement to work with CATL by wholly owning the entity that makes the battery plant. This means Tesla, in theory, will only be licensing CATL's technology. Interesting. Meanwhile, there has been pushback from lawmakers who argue that Ford's deal allows cattle to benefit from U.S. subsidies. However, Ford assured that the Chinese company would not receive tax dollars through the deal. And the Musk-controlled EV manufacturer is expanding. Hello, baby. You kicking me? How are you? You had a good nap? You're crawling to the floor. Watch your head. Watch your head. You're gonna bump your head, rolling down the floor. Oh, my ear. There you go. Where are you going? You want your headphones? All right, put your headphones on. You want help? Or are you gonna hold them? There you go. It's not a hat, it's headphones. She hates hats. All right, so she's standing on my earphones. I've got limited range right now. So anyway, Musk is expanding. Latter reason makes cattle an attractive partner, and it might be situated in Texas. It's interesting. No immigrants, but we'll take your Chinese battery plant. Oh, you want up? Oh. Hi. She's got her headphones, but she's not wearing them. I don't know if any comments on this one. Nope. All right, so NIO gets more aggressive with plans for 1,000 new, faster battery swap stations ahead of its launch of budget cars. I'm guessing this is because the budget cars will have less range than the more expensive ones. Yes. Yes, sweetie. Are you playing yourself? Head, nose, chin, arm. Yeah. All right, let's see what NIO has to say for themselves here. The new swapping stations will use a new and more efficient design that will be completed before the end of the year. They currently have 1,300 swap stations in China, and I think what they say 2 outside of China. Each station can handle 408 swaps daily, which is 30% more efficient than the existing stations. And they've updated the technology with a feature that autonomously parks the car in the proper position. Oh, good. So now the driver doesn't have to do it perfectly. A swap takes about 3 minutes. This is reported by the South China Morning Post, I believe that is. Yeah. They plan to have more than 4,000 swap stations globally by the end of 2025, with about a quarter of them outside of China. Getting more than that. But I think that the NIOs still charge just fine, so the swap stations just let me go faster. There we go. Next group is we're going to talk about Yes, I was talking about back from the zombification and some lawsuits and another mobile charging solution. A second mid-size pickup to go after the Rivian, basically. Talk about some more batteries. And something I've had a theory about for a while, the the Ford Model E program. And that will be that segment. Let's go in here. The Faraday Future has pulled off the impossible and starts its production of the FF91, of which I have one free reservation for, and of which I have almost zero chance of actually buying this though. One, the price, and two, by the time my number's up, will they still be in business? They've emerged from the brink of bankruptcy and officially announced the start of production of the FF91. Their 1.1 million square foot factory in Hanford, California. Congratulations to them, and we do wish them luck. They're able to announce in February they've been able to obtain $135 million in new funding through a series of convertible secured notes. They said that was enough to begin production. In March, and with just 2 days left in the month, they pulled through, announcing the start of production on Wednesday. And they say, I want to thank each and every valued stakeholder to FF, including our employees, supportive investors, suppliers, and all of our partners that traveled alongside us on this road of perseverance, leading to where we all stand today in Hanford. I cannot express how excited I am to finally see the culmination of many years of hard work, all focused on our one goal of bringing ultimate intelligent luxury FF91 futurists analysts alliance to market, said the CEO. Another thing I don't think will fit really with me on this vehicle, if my number comes up, is seems to be for executives. Like it's got like you can Zoom call in the back. It's got a large screen and like I'm not to the point where I have a driver, and if I need to conference call and stuff in the back, and I'm not just like in the middle of a road day, I would just go into the house, hotel, camper, whatever, and use my full computer there rather than sit in the back of my car for an hour for conference call. That being said, you guys may have seen my South Dakota call where we did just that from inside the car. That was because I was pushing instead of just finding a nice place to stop, and that was there was some traffic, and we just pulled over and used the iPad. That was on What Drives Us and the Tesla Life back in September, October. All right, so we'll see if these things start making any numbers, but that's what they look like. Pretty exciting, but not for everyone. They're super expensive. All right, so Tesla's getting sued again. His family has filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Tesla over a fatal Florida crash. So, if you recall on this one, it was where the vehicle exited the freeway and then took the truck side of the rest stop and then underran a truck in Florida. And then later on, it came out that autopilot was not on and this was driver error. So we'll see where this goes, since if it's already been ruled driver error, how is it Tesla's fault? Although the plaintiff says something to the effect of the suit states that the car was equipped with crash avoidance and crash mitigation features. Yes, it was. They're not infallible. And we know this because when you look at all the AP1 cars that rode into the back of fire trucks and anything else that was offset in the lane, they had crash mitigation technologies as well. They still crashed. The crash occurred on a highway exit split into two lanes, entering a rest area. Model S ended up in the lane for larger vehicles that collided with the back of the tractor trailer. The crash garnered much media attention over the possibility of Tesla's driver assistance technology being involved. However, a subsequent investigation found the cause to be human error. According to details of the investigation announced by the Florida Highway Patrol last month, data from the car showed the driver hit the accelerator rather than the brake. The Model S entered the rest stop going 60 miles per hour, hitting the curb and then the trailer. NHTSA previously announced that it was also investigating the incident, but the agency has not issued a comment since the results of the FHP investigation were announced. I feel for their loss, but I don't know what they expect to achieve out of this. FSD Beta takes on the deadliest road in America, which is what Barthy says he might return to Tesla for Act 2 interview. I'll watch that later. And I think we've already talked about the Bridgewater Police Tesla. When was this? This was October 15th of 2021. So this was a CGP Gray and Tail of the Dragon. Not new. Moving on. Skip that about Barthy because I don't know anything about it. I will watch it later. So this one is CAFU mobile EV charger starts pilot in Montreal. So our friend Josh Aviv, he's got a Spark Charge where they'll bring you stacks of batteries and a CHAdeMO or CCS charger, and you can charge up on the go. CAFU seems to. I do think this idea is more practical, although more expensive, because you need a whole van and even more and larger batteries. And I wonder if they modify that door so it opens wider. Back pretty far. Let's see. CAFU Encharge is launching a single vehicle pilot in Montreal this week. Well, I guess you'll need more than one of them for it to be more practical, but on a one-to-one basis, say. EV charging anywhere throughout the city of Montreal is meant as an auxiliary service to traditional EV charging. The company hopes to license that technology throughout North America. The pilot will allow CAFU to test the user experience and road test the app's functionality as supported by electric autonomy. The other thing I'm noticing is there seems to be more volume for them to put stuff in the van. I wonder if they were weighted out. Oh, they use an e-transit as the base. Okay. E-transit with 140 kilowatt hour battery pack that can provide 50 kilowatt fast charging to vehicles with Tesla or CCS connector. E-transit uses the same ABB e-mobility pack used on the Formula E racing series. So e-transit. I don't think they're using the stock pack if it's got 140. Or is that 140 for charging and then the stock pack for motion? Curious. Users can book the service via the CAFU app, and they can charge between 8 and 10 vehicles per day. That's not bad. They partnered with Quebec-based Institute de Vehicle Innovate to develop and test pilot the CAFU Encharge in late 2021. So they're based out of Dubai. They showed off prototype at the International Summit on Electric and Smart Transportation Conference in Saint-Germain, and same prototype will be hitting the roads later this week. There we go. All right. So right now, Rivian is the only mid-size pickup out there on the EV side. Everybody else is going for full size. So Ram says they're going for a mid-size pickup now, in addition to the 1500 full size that they were already showing us their concept for. Normally, I'd be more reserved about these future product blah blah blahs, but this is Stellantis, and they do have a number of EVs on the road right now. So I think that Ram will be able to pull this off. Will it be all they say? Probably not. As I keep saying, so far, in my experience, only Tesla and Honda actually come close to their concept cars. Honda takes the real car, puts fake mirrors, fake paint, and fake wheels on it, and sometimes a fake interior. And Tesla takes a car that's in production, prototype production, and then they show it. And then they show the real thing later, which just happens to be better. Versus what everybody else who's not Honda does, and they show you this fanciful piece of crap that you'll never see the light of day, and disappoint you marvelously, like the original Chevy Volt concept versus the original Chevy Volt. With the Cadillac Converge versus the Cadillac ELR. Anyway, Ram is close to unveiling a vehicle that will preview the brand's first mid-size all-electric pickup truck, according to dealers who attended the company meeting in Vegas this week. So we'll keep an eye on this, and we'll let you know. This one here pictured is the full-size one. That's the supplier, LG Energy Systems, as they want to quadruple their investment in Arizona, and the Arizona battery plant to $5.5 billion. In Queen Creek, Arizona, the South Korean battery manufacturer plans to build 2 facilities in Arizona. One facility will start making cells for EVs by 2025, and the second will produce energy storage systems beginning in 2026. They'll be able to produce 27 gigawatt hours of 2170 cells for electric vehicles and 16 gigawatt hours of LFP pouch type batteries for energy storage systems. LGES Arizona battery plant will have an annual production capacity of up to 43 gigawatt hours. There we go. Say more when we know more. So my theory with Ford Model E is that they were going to put all the stuff they wanted here, and they were going to put all the stuff they wanted to get rid of, like the dealer contracts, over there in Ford Blue, and then jettison it when they were ready. That seems to have not been going that way in Canada. So let's look at what they've done here. So they had some discussions with their dealers, and now they'll have an annual 30-day rolling enrollment period for the Model E program. Previously, Ford had a hard deadline for opt-in, with the next window opening in 2027. So anybody who hadn't already complied by last year didn't stand another chance for the next several years until 2027. But now it's going to be like health insurance at work, where every year you have 30 days to make up your mind and get in or out. Or at least get in, I should say. I don't think they have an opt out. Ford will allow Model E dealers to have at least one Blue Oval charge network DC fast charger in smaller markets. So it sounds like that's a reduction. Like if you're out in the sticks, you don't have to have what the guy in the city has to have. Ford is announcing a small volume exception where dealerships that are in smaller markets can defer the installation of a level 3 charger until demand grows. There's no such thing as a level 3 charger. You've got level 1 and level 2, and then you've got DC fast charge. But colloquially, folks call all DC fast charge level 3 sometimes. But it's not a real thing. The Model E program has 2 tiers. You've got Certified Elite, which costs around $1.8 million, and Certified, which costs $560,000. Costs for the program are from required EV charger installations, training, and specialized equipment and service equipment. 83% of Canadian dealers have signed on to one of the 2 tiers, but 17% were still concerned about the program and its costs, and the main concerns were from smaller dealers in the upfront capital costs and the potential lack of return on investment over the next several years. I'm curious what that percentage looks like in the US. It sounded from all the hubbub like it should be a lot lower. Because we have a lot more laws protecting dealerships here to just be terrible. And in fact, we've invented more, as we talked about the bills in Mississippi and Wyoming and several other places. Ford dealerships are meeting face-to-face at the end of the month to discuss the program in more detail and may propose additional changes at that time. And we'll see what happens. Enjoy your life, Legacy. All right, let's look at the next batch of stories. We're going to talk about autonomous vehicles. We're going to talk about solar in the US. We're going to talk about Acer, Harley, SpaceX, superchargers, Of course, Mr. Supercharger is going to talk about superchargers. I clicked superchargers and you didn't load it. There you go. And then we'll talk a little bit about some more Rivian stuff. Let's get all the Rivian stuff ready. I lumped the Rivian together, but I missed some of it. All right, here we go. Let's get rid of Ford Canada and talk about automation. All right, so Cruise shares a comment after Robotaxi crashes into San Francisco minibus. This is one of their bolts with the hat. Let's see what it did. A Cruise Robotaxi operating without a safety driver recently collided with San Francisco minibus. There were no reported injuries, while the bus sustained modest damage. The damage to the Cruise vehicle's front bumper was more severe. At the time of the incident, Cruise was not carrying any passengers, and GM's self-driving unit addressed the incident in a brief statement. They said, yesterday, one of our vehicles made contact with the rear of a minibus. No injuries were reported, and no passengers were present in the Cruise EV. We're investigating the incident, and we'll take follow-up actions if appropriate. And so the name of this vehicle is Souffle. And Bauer here says, hey, Cruise, come get your guy Souffle. Oh. Based on Cruise's comment and photo of the incident, it appears that the robotaxi rear-ended the bus at a relatively low speed, and a picture of the accident crash shared on the social media shows the robotaxi still in contact with the bus. The impact occurred just after the bus stopped too, which further suggests that the collision likely happened at low speeds in the Ford, as noted in Forbes's report. The Cruise vehicle's airbags did not seem to have deployed either. Hopefully that's because the seats were empty or because the speed was that low. I wonder on the Cruise vehicle, since it does operate autonomously, I wonder if the driver's seat airbag logic is still there, or if it needs airbag, it assumes there is a driver because it's built on a production EV, which should not operate without a driver. Stock, it should not. Obviously, they've got permission to operate this empty. More weather drama in my neighborhood. 2 driverless cars didn't detect. 1, the caution tape blocking my street, and 2, the downed SFMTA wire, muni wires. So I'm guessing they have a trolley to have muni wires that are down. Now they're tangled up like flies and sticky traps. Cruise says, given the damage caused by last night's storms, some of our cars briefly entered areas with downed trees or power lines. Some were able to proceed autonomously, but where needed, we immediately dispatched teams to remove the vehicles. That's a separate incident. Wow, this one's got a lot of comments. That must have been caused by Tesla's FSD. Sarcasm. Where's the NHTSA calling for recalls? More people are arguing Tesla versus GM in the comments, but things like this show that self-driving cars are nowhere near being viable. If you can't see a bus, you're a long way from making this work. Yes and no. At the current, yes, but these things will advance very quickly. All right, so before we get into Debbie Downers like that guy, let's look at these pictures. And I guess we got to change tabs because. Nice, a caution tape. And they're the wires. The wires would be harder to see, but with all those sensors, you'd think they would have seen something. I mean, they got a lot of sensors. You got LiDAR, radar, a bunch of cameras. And they did not. In fact, they looked like they got their hat stuck in the wires. I don't know if they even have mirrors. They got something where the mirrors are on this one. The other one looks similar. That's that. Next up, here's why U.S. solar panels would save 33%, save emissions by 33%. I'm guessing transportation panels aren't light. I've got a set of 400-watt portable luggable panels, and they're quite heavy, at like I think 60 pounds a piece. And that's without any sort of mounting system for them. They've got like you can use their bag to hold them up. That's not very useful. Specifically, returning solar panel manufacturing to the U.S. cut emissions by 30% and reduce energy consumption by 13% compared to 2020, when the U.S. relied almost entirely on imports. There you go. All right, so Acer, you might know them from making phones and computers. They are selling an extreme electric scooter and exercise bike work desk. I don't know what this should be. I see. So the exercise bike work desk has nothing to do with the scooter. Okay. I like it, Anders. Anders says the bus wasn't there when they made the map. It's quite possible. And so then the question is, was the bus stop there when they made the map? Because they should be able to adapt to all traffic that's in the area with all their eyes and sensors. But yeah, was the bus stop there when they made the map? All right, so fresh off its unveiling of an electric bicycle, Acer is now demonstrating two more wheels contraptions. One is a funky looking electric scooter known as the Predator Extreme, which is also, I think, what they call some of their laptops or something. While the second is a bike that looks much faster than it is, the eConnect BD3 exercise bike work desk. Both launched under Acer Gadgets subsidiary at the Taipei Cycle Show. So there's the Predator Extreme. And there's the e-bike that they were talking about that was already out, I believe, the EB. And let's look at this this work desk here. Hopefully there's no music in it. It's a little narrow of a desk for the way I work, but let's see. No music.
Hey everybody, this is Diliana from Acer and I'm here to show you our...
There's music. All right, so the e-bike smart desk. They use energy propelling to charge the devices. That's kind of cool. Impress your coworkers. Get into shape while going green. My coworkers wouldn't know because I work at home. 1 hour of constant cycling at 60 RPM generates 75 watts of power. Watt-hours of power. This charges your laptop and other devices. So you can get work done and something. Let's look at the main highlights. 3 USB ports. I kind of like that pattern of the material. There's Acer smartphone. Place your laptop on the desk or prop it up. Make it easy to use your devices while sitting in any posture. Okay, so the desk is a little wider than it looks. You got a book and beverage holder. Check your position, speed, desk height, resistance. I guess that's an app. Check it out in action. So take a seat. You can move the desk horizontally and shift between working mode and sports mode. Yeah, working mode, you want to be much slower. The desk surface is close to the chair, lets you sit up straight while typing and pedaling. And sports mode. The desk surface sits further forward, giving you room to lean in like a standard bike or trainer. So is that break time? Just start pedaling faster. So I'm guessing since it is a dynamo, you probably won't have a plug for it. Seamlessly return to working mode by moving the desk surface back into place. Use the companion app. Check distance, time, and speed. I told you it'd be an app. Plus how many calories you burn, how many watts of power you generated. And you don't have to choose between your job and active lifestyle. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting my sit-stand desk back when I get back to my house. All right, so that was interesting. And I'm curious what you guys think about that. Speaking of two-wheeled contraptions, the Harley-Davidson Livewire is now available in Europe. So it's no longer just a North America deal. So let's see, country-specific pricing with VAT can be found here. Germany, 24,000 euros. France, 25,000 euros. Netherlands, 25,000 euros. UK, 22,000 pounds. Livewire 1 reservations of €100 are already open, securing priority delivery that should start later in April. Hey, that's not bad. Now, this is one of the loudest EVs out there, aside from like buses and trucks that just have like lots of fans and air brakes and stuff. Harley wanted the gear mesh sound to just be loud, so just like it's one of the loudest motorcycles out there, like the gas ones. Still their only model. I think they spun out the Livewire, didn't they? Or is that the bicycle? They spun something out recently. Anyway. Solar and electric powered flex rovers hitching a ride with SpaceX to study the moon. It's kind of cool. You know what? I'm going to save this one for Russell too. Harley's not really a style, but it'd be fun. So we talked earlier about how the Ukrainian company Starlink sued SpaceX because, or SpaceX sued them, one or the other. They started before SpaceX entered Ukraine, and they won their trademark lawsuit. Let's see. Ukrainian IT company Starlink reportedly won a lawsuit against Elon Musk's SpaceX. This comes after SpaceX attempted to require the firm to change their brand name, as reported by the Ukrainian media outlets. However, the Ukrainian Starlink had filed for trademark registration in 2010, which was granted registration a year later, while Musk Starlink in Ukraine obtained trademark rights in 2020. So 10 years later. I would be upset if I had something going and some large company came in from overseas and tried to make me change my name. It's not like there was another case that we may talk either today or later about somebody who filed something 24 hours. Oh yeah, we talked about the Gigabeer 24 hours before Tesla did their thing. The founder of Starlink LLC revealed that SpaceX officials had reached out to him in 2021, asking him to abandon the name. While he did not discount the possibility of engaging in negotiations with SpaceX, he stated that he would only do so if he was compensated for any losses incurred during the rebranding process, which makes sense because if you filed all the paperwork, started a business, and you're actively using it, yeah, you're gonna have to pay me to change. I want a little bit of extra little scratch, and then I definitely want all the costs covered because renaming a business is a pain in the rear. What's up, Lee? Hey, happy Sunday. I don't know. What do you guys think? If some company came in on you, even one that was doing good for your country, how would you feel about them coming in and trying to make you change your name? Something that it wasn't like me. I operate as Kacey Green. I would not take well to that at all. But I also have smoothev.com. If somebody wanted to make me change that, one, they'd have to buy the URL off of me. Two, I wouldn't respond as viciously as if they got me to try and change my name. Anyway, next, let's talk about supercharging. Tesla is showing how prefabricated supercharger units save time and costs. Tesla's fully assembled supercharger sites come with stalls mounted on a concrete slab and grid connectivity ready electrical components. So these come already with the parking pedestals. They come with the conduit to run the wires. Well, I say conduit to run the wires. There's not much to do. You got to connect the cabinet, and then the pedestals are already connected. You drop it in place and test it and move on. Yeah, I agree, Lee. That's it's quite an attitude on their part. They should approach it humbly and be like, "Hey, we saw you were here 10 years earlier. What can we do to make it worth your while for you to change your name, or what kind of licensing can we get into to use your name and you still do your thing, but we don't interact in any way and somehow separate the products and service in the names or in the minds of the customers." I'm gonna have to put tape back over that speaker, the child and the mother. remove the tape from that. I don't know if you can hear it or not. It's quite loud. I taped it up and left like 2 dots in the speaker grill so that she could hear it, but it wasn't so overbearing. All right, so Tesla shared more details about the PSUs, which is the prefabricated supercharger units. They're made at Buffalo with Giga Buffalo. And oh, they did it as tweets and videos. Great. Enables company to get new supercharger sites. I've read the installation manual and stuff, and it's pretty cool. As of November, they had 40,000 superchargers at 4,000 locations in the world. We extended our excellence in manufacturing and how we build sites. We're pre-building 4-post supercharger units at Giga New York, load them on a truck, and then them to the site. That's the site, not side. And then we crane them into position. Which also revealed that Tesla saves 15% on deployment costs thanks to PSUs. So let's see, is this the tweet? Nope. That's not the tweet either. Where's the tweets? Ah, there. All right, open a new tab. So let's look at the comments real quick. Yes. Bailey wants to see them support pull-through parking. John says they're still putting old and inferior. Why not B4s? B4s aren't made in volume yet, exactly as this guy says. The lead in picture speaks 1,000 words. It must be Tesla's rendition of the Little Red Wagon. From the picture, Tesla has 4 charge ports as a technology company. Number 4 is a throwback to early computers using 4 data bit sets or nibbles. Not Tesla to get 8-bit bytes. No, we see the problem is that they are, unless you wanted to double side these things back to back, which would work in some sites, but not all. Like if they put 2 supercharger units and then put these in the middle of two opposing rows, you could do that. But most of them are on the edge of the lot, so that's actually really good. Like here would be good for having 8 with the 2 superchargers. If you did something at this side with the sidewalk you can park on. Let's check real quick. They pushed the concept. They've got hundreds of these things deployed. As far as the electric connections to the site and time. Well, all right, so let's see what Tesla had to say, because got a bunch of armchair experts. Tesla Giga New York is the site of the home of the new home of prefabricated supercharger units. I don't know what's new about it. They've been doing this for months. Fill them all up there. There's the cabinet. Yeah, they do 2 of them on a truck. So if they wanted them back to back, they would just hook 2 of the units back to back. Good to go. All right. The PSUs are fully assembled in supercharger sites. They come with, let's do the thread reader. What am I on Twitter blue for if I can't use the thread reader? Helps get new sites up and running significantly faster, enabling construction to be completed within days and not weeks. And yeah, so all the people discounting this, they've probably never seen a supercharger site go up. It is one slow process when they have to like manually trench and run the cables and install the pedestals and assemble the pedestals and then install the units. If you can just crane them in and plug them in, it could save weeks, assuming that the paperwork is already handled. Paperwork is the next longest thing, or the longer thing, depending on what jurisdiction you're operating in. It helps us get new sites up and running significantly faster. More than half of the 40,000 superchargers in the world were made by our incredible 2,000-person team in Buffalo. Yeah, they didn't always make them prefab, but Buffalo and Sparks have made most of the supercharger pedestals and cabinets. And then the prefabs have always been coming from Buffalo. And that's the end of the thread. All right, then. Showing us this older V3 units means one thing, V4 is now in production. Possibly. Ah, yes, Monroe Life says, can we tear one down? And this guy's point, so you can sell the report to competitors. Yeah, right. Pay up, Sandy. Using Tesla Semi for delivery, full circle each system. Do they use Tesla Semi in that video? I didn't notice. I'm not used to seeing Tesla Semi in the wild, so I don't look for it. Oh, that's not Tesla Semi. That one is. I didn't notice the switch. Let's see. Should be able to order one for business. I agree, even if it is super expensive. Anyway. That black Cybertruck will be the most badass looking vehicle on the road. I like it. I like it a lot. I might wrap mine in matte black after I get forward with the stainless steel. Thank you. All right, moving on to the next story before I get too distracted with Twitter. We got a bunch of Rivian stuff coming up here. All right, so the Rivian R1T has been spotted at Mercedes AMG HQ with manufacturer plates. So we talked recently about how Volkswagen is bringing back the Scout brand, and it's going to be a small electric pickup truck. Why would Mercedes want one? And is it the AMG division, or is it Mercedes and AMG is already just one thing? Because they're going to make a sports truck, that'll be interesting. And it's got manufacturer plates, which means they're probably about to tear this thing down. All right, so wearing test car license plates parked at the headquarters of AMG, Mercedes AMG, which is the performance arm of Mercedes-Benz. It's posted on Instagram by the Roland reporter and uploaded on the Rivian Owners Forum, where there's an explanation of the red license plate, which are used by Germany for a handful of purposes. Trying testing cars on cars that are on the way to be sold by dealers. The plates always have the number 06 at the beginning, and only car manufacturers, sellers, and repairers can use this type of license plate. So what is an American R1T, which is not sold in Europe, doing at the headquarters of AMG? The clear answer is hard to get, but we can speculate based on knowledge of the two car companies. At least they didn't rent it from a customer and strip it to pieces and put it back together. Jerks. So Rivian was going to have a deal with Mercedes on a van, so this could be left over from that. Or maybe Mercedes was the one to break, and they needed this. It's unlikely this has anything to do with that. There are also some rumors at some point that Rivian vehicles will be available in Germany through Sixt, but they were debunked. Likely possibility is AMG is benchmarking the American pickup against its own version of the all-coming electric Mercedes-Benz EQG off-roader. Let's look into that. EQG will eventually be sold in North America, and AMG will probably come up with a high-performance version at some point. Considering the ICE G-Class as AMG's G63 variant, adding to that, Mercedes AMG already has experience in the all-electric world after it started making the high-performance trims with the EQE and EQS sedans. Yes, they did. But Benz doesn't have a pickup. I wonder if this could be for the, just because it was easier to get an R1T for them than it was to get an R1S. It used to make the Nissan Navara-based X-Class, but seeing the R1T setup is very similar to that of the R1S, yep, that's a very good candidate for testing. As a reminder, the American pickup is available with either dual motor or all-wheel drive, or dual motor all-wheel drive or quad motor all-wheel drive. And judging by the latest batch of spy photos showing prototypes, the German brand appears to be testing the quad motor variant. Yeah, because they want the faster. As well as a setup that has fewer than 4 motors. Interesting. Another possibility is that an employee or other person somehow managed to get their hands on an R1T, and the car is at the first step of the registration process, waiting on the permanent license plate to be issued. But it's a lot harder to charge an American car in Europe because they got the Type 2 situation there. And because this car isn't planned to be sold in Europe anytime soon, it might not take well to the 50 hertz AC, and it definitely won't be able to charge on Type 2 CCS without modification. Let's see. Just curious. Checking out the Rivian platform for future use or investment. It's like dissected. Moving on. So this is the EQG. So it's just the G series. Straight out 1929, but with a battery. Rivian to relocate engineers to the Illinois factory to accelerate production. So the same way that Musk did a Musk go back to the office for Tesla and SpaceX and Twitter, it appears that Rivian is doing the same thing. Now, if that's what this article is talking about, I don't know. Because they said you need to show up at Normal or their, I believe, California location. Yep. During the pandemic, Rivian hired engineers remotely from different states, resulting in a workforce scattered across the U.S. The unannounced relocation will allow for more centralized operations. A considerable number of engineering team members are being asked to relocate to Central Illinois or the company's headquarters in Irvine, according to a source spoke to the Wall Street Journal. I think working in face-to-face is overrated. Now, obviously, if somebody can't handle working remote, let them go. All right, more Rivian. The Rivian EDV 500, which is the shorter variant, has been spotted on public roads testing. So we can see it's the shorter one because it only has one panel in the middle instead of two. Over the weekend, a pair of Rivian EDV 500 vans were spotted testing on public streets. In this Instagram post by Kindle Auto, shows a pair of the shorter EDV 500s on California roads. I mean, did it really need camo? And I like it's still in Amazon Blue. And the way this stretches it makes it look like the 600, 700, whatever they do. Okay, they've got music. But there it is. Two of them. Gordon calls a short video on a public road a spy shot. But that's exactly what spy shots are. Type of spy shot. All right, so yeah, the EDV 700 is the one with the two panels in the middle. And it says, I feel like YouTubers being so successful delivering niche news and streams helps make the case that working in an office is overrated. Yes. And then you look at my day job, like I do a lot of remoting into other people's computers. And do I need to go in an office to remote into other people's computers? That was part of the argument I made when I jumped ship to this company from my old one. All right. With low delivery numbers, Rivian is reportedly seeking to end the. Yeah, we talked about the exclusivity agreement they're trying to get out of. Next, more Rivian. I think that's the same one we just discussed. So let's load up the next batch of articles, and then we'll go have lunch. All right. So, Boring Company, Ford. One of the issues with electric vehicles and multifamily dwellings that you don't own, or you don't own the parking anyway. Waymo. We already talked about Neo, so we'll skip that. And cattle. So let's start with cattle because We talked about it on Tesla Life. And so Cattle is going to be making the M3P batteries, which is not Model 3 performance, but just a product of their own. It offers a substantial increase in range and can be available soon. So the new battery is 15% denser than other lithium ion phosphate batteries, and their chairman has now provided an update on the battery project at an investor briefing reported to The Driven. At 210 watt-hours per kilogram energy density on the M3P, the gain will boost Tesla Model 3's driving range to about 435 miles. That's not bad. That's probably also on the Chinese cycle. Now, if they could do that on the American cycle, 435 miles on a Model 3, there'd be no reason to get the non-LFP at that point, unless you wanted the performance one. But then the performance tax will be so much higher. The M3P battery will allow Cattle to maintain its lead in the global battery industry regarding energy density, costs, and performance. The company now accounts for over 1/3 of worldwide battery supply, with big names like Tesla, Volkswagen, BMW, and Ford, setting up a 70 gigawatt-hour battery plant near Tesla's Giga Shanghai, plus the one we talked about earlier in the show that might be in Texas or somewhere. They haven't revealed the chemical composition of M3P. However, it's believed to be an improvement on LFP, replacing the iron with a proprietary mixture of magnesium, zinc, and aluminum. It doesn't sound as cheap, but maybe it is. The mixture is responsible for the higher energy density. I hope it's as durable as LFPs are too, because they could take some abuse. All right, so let's go over to the Boring Company again. They proposed newer and larger expansion of the Vegas Loop, as opposed to the previous newer and larger expansion that we saw last year. They received unanimous approval to expand Vegas Loop to 51 stops and 34 miles last year or year before, sometime during the pandemic, extending from Harry Reid International Airport through the resort corridor through the Fremont Street Experience. And that would be significant expansion from the less than 2 miles of tunnels and 5 stations that are currently operational in Vegas. However, TPC has even bigger plans for the Vegas Loop. According to new plans submitted to the city, the new plan shows the tunnel network will grow to 65 miles, nearly double the amount originally approved last year, and a total of 88 stations. The new proposed map on the right below, first reported by TechCrunch, shows a vast new network of tunnels and routes in red. I'd like to see you expand a subway network this fast. The map shows a new tunnel going to the west, running parallel to the strip with fewer stops, which could serve as an express route for people looking to commute to the north and south ends of the city. Lee, if you can get a chance to go in the Boring Tunnel during the next convention, I would appreciate some firsthand reporting on that. Let's see. There are also new tunnels connecting the west and east sides of the city. If approved, the new Vegas Loop would have 5 stations at the University of Nevada. Wow, we were only expecting 1 when we talked about this last. And so now they're going to have 5. And let's take a look at this new loop. It's a zoom, aren't we? Post station and approved stations. So the greens are already done, and the reds they want. So excellent, thank you. The Blue Diamond West, Town Square, Las Vegas Boulevard. This is substantial. It's not just a quick little loop anymore. It's not that was small earlier. Wish we had a high res version of this that we could look at. Nice. Okay, next up. All right, so the loop cost $47 million to construct and began transporting passengers in June of 21. And the capacity test showed that those 3 stops could handle 4,431 passengers per hour, which people were complaining is lower than the subway, blah, blah, blah. But the subway wouldn't have run from one end of the convention center to the other. That's just too expensive. now boasts a fleet of 70 Tesla EVs, ferrying passengers between north, south, and central exhibit halls, sorry, and a new offshoot tunnel to Resorts World opened last year, situated directly across from Vegas Boulevard. Right. Next up. Ford has lost $6 billion during its EV ramp and expects to lose another $3 billion this year. I may have discussed this last week. So they've got their EV units up to 60,000 last year, and they want 600,000 in 2023, and 2 million in 2026. Yeah, we did discuss this last week. All right, so I talked about the perils of owning an EV in multifamily dwellings. Yeah, absolutely. That's the plan there. All right, so the Vegas resident was denied, or sorry, Vancouver resident was denied permission to install an EV charger at Strata-owned property. I don't know what Strata is, but obviously they own the property. And one of the problems with like apartments and condos is when it's full of people who don't care or worse or vindictive and want to make your life miserable when it comes time to install a charging station in your parking spot, assuming that you've got assigned parking, and even if you're paying for the electricity. So that's what this person ran into. So Ulrich owns a unit in East Vancouver building and claimed that Strutza wrongly denied his request to install the EV charger. However, they disagreed, saying that the entire parkade is common property and that the installation of an EV charger and other permanent items required for it to work would constitute a significant change in the use or appearance of the common property. If anyone listening audio, I just rolled my eyes at that. Such a change, the council said, would require owner approval, and there's been no vote. So I thought HOAs were bad. I mean, this is an HOA, but this is even worse. And I've had some friends run into this. So an April 2021 vote, the owners held a 3/4 vote to approve a resolution about installing 2 EV chargers. However, the resolution involved collecting $12,500 for the installation cost, modifying the bylaws to assign 2 guest parking spots for the charging station, and adding guidelines to the bylaws to specify EV usage process, and it did not pass. See, the only good thing about this is that as EVs become more prolific and popular, these places will be forced out of business, or they'll be forced to get with the times, and hopefully they won't get raked over the coals on these installation costs. Like, no, I don't know that that's a high price or not. Oftentimes, we see that the price is higher than it needs to be, but sometimes it's fair because you're working in oftentimes a concrete structure, and you need to do it just right. But other times, they say, "Ooh, it's a parking garage. I can charge 100 times what I normally charge for the same lengths and hours." Yep. So this is why when somebody asks me, "Hey, should I buy an EV?" and I live in an apartment, I say maybe. And they say, "Oh, but there's a supercharger around the corner." I say, "Okay, that's a little easier to decide, but you will be going somewhere for a couple of minutes or hours a week." Like right now, I've stopped 4 times since we got here to charge the Model X at the nearby supercharger at this hotel. I could have got a hotel with a charger, but in Charleston, that's super expensive, so I didn't do that. In fact, I think we got charged tonight. We'll see. So, Waymo is replacing the self-driving Chrysler vans with all-electric Jaguar I-Paces. Now, the Chrysler vans are plug-in hybrids because they offered a more robust electrical system than what was available at the time when they purchased them. But then they started deploying the Jaguar I-Paces, and it looks like they've gone that way. A vehicle I didn't know they were still making. There we go. So I want to thank all of you for your time watching. I want to thank anyone who's given a thumbs up and a subscribe. Also want to thank our channel members and patrons. And with that, we'll catch you on the flip side. Hopefully in a new venue next time we reconvene. We'll see.